Yeah, we got a lot going on today. We're going to get into all of that and more. Let's blast off real quick. Straight pause for the ceasefire. California governor debate. Dems W in special elections. Trump expensive W in Indiana. Oil plunges. Market surge. DSA call to demand Kathy Hochul tax the rich later. Talking to Evan Hill of WAPO on extensive U.S. base damage in Gulf. Anyway, get in now. Ted Turner, a.k.a. Jane Fonda Fumbler. I didn't know that. He's lived a storied life. I will say, in some ways, I do feel... how do I say this? I feel a little bit simpatico to someone like Ted Turner. I feel like maybe I'm silly, but they don't make him like that anymore. You know, there is no like current modern day media equivalent of a guy like Ted Turner, which is kind of lame when you think about it. Like, I know you are silly, lol. No. It's just like, I know he's not like the best. Obviously, he's like a very, very unbelievably, unfathomably wealthy guy. But he also was like, you know, he was straight up a fucking like media demon who had unique interests, eclectic interests, who actually pursued said eclectic interests. Whereas like nowadays you have the equivalence of this is like what? There's none. There's nothing. Yeah. And I'll go through some of the things that he said in the past for you guys to understand. Maybe I feel a little sympathetic because I'm a media guy who you guys think is unfathomably wealthy, nowhere near like Ted Turner wealth, obviously, but I too am a media guy who has made controversial remarks for the time period that technically wasn't wrong, but he was, they demanded he apologize, right? And of course, I'm talking about him saying Israel's doing terrorism in 2002, and even hitting the Mahmoud Mamdani. The Mahmoud Mamdani line of the Palestinians are doing suicide bombs because they have nothing else. Israel is, on the other hand, one of the strongest militaries in the region. I would go so far as to say they are the ones who are doing terrorism. Who's to say it's just the Palestinians doing terrorism? You know, stuff like that. Maybe that's what it is. Like, it's hard for me not to feel a sense of sympathy for the founder of CNN a little bit, because it's just, he's the last of a bygone era. You think about like Anthony Bourdain. This actually ties into Anthony Bourdain as well. Okay. There aren't guys like this anymore. There aren't people who are well-read, intellectual, have like unique interests, have some political perspectives that go outside of the confines of whatever the fucking neoliberal State Department interests are. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't happen anymore. I can't think of like an equivalent here. Like, you got fucking Peter Thiel, you got Palmer Luckey, you got Elon Musk. These guys all suck. Okay. This doesn't like, I'm not trying to say that it's good that, you got, billionaire philanthropists or whatever. I'm just saying that even on the billionaire philanthropist side, there's a diminishment of the quality. Okay. Like, where are the interesting super wealthy guys? Like, Gaben is the only guy I can think of that is unfathomably wealthy and has his own like unique interests and pursues them, right? Like, Mark Cuban is not anywhere near as interesting as like Ted Turner was, right? Nowhere near as interesting. I mean, I guess we have the Roy Singham guy. He's not even a billionaire, but Roy Singham example of this, like the PSL guy, you know, the guy who funds like all that stuff from China, you know? Yeah, Valve Gaben. Gaben is an interesting, eclectic billionaire kind of guy. I mean, he is. I don't know. Anyway, let's continue.
He changed the world.
Known as the Mouth of the South and Captain Outrageous, Ted Turner built a media empire that changed cable news forever.
I didn't have any upper limits to how far we could go.
Champion, philanthropist, environmentalist.
I don't know how to quit. It's not in my genes.
But growing up wasn't easy for Ted. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1938, his parents sent him to boarding school when he was just 4 years old.
I didn't like boarding school. I wanted to be home.
Ted's
so sad.
little sister, whom he adored, died of lupus at 17. About 2 years later, Ted dropped out of Brown University. He'd been studying classics until his father cut off the money.
He thought I was wasting my time.
So he went to work for his dad's billboard company. But tragedy struck again when
Nothing boomers do impress me because they were basically living on easy mode. Chatter, this is not a regular boomer. He was also unbelievably wealthy. Like, he comes from a wealthy family. It's not like, you know, it's not like he came from like a broken home, you know, and he was like very broke growing up or anything. He just, you know, he comes from a very wealthy background on top of everything else. It's just like, it's just, look, do you want to know why I like Ted Turner? I'll tell you why. One, obviously Jane Fonda, kind of cool. Okay. If you're at that level and you're like, you know, and you go after a babe like Jane Fonda, I'm going to give you a little bit of respect. Okay. That's number one. Number two, let's read some of his controversial comments. Turner once called observers of Ash Wednesday Jesus freaks, though he apologized and dubbed opponents of abortion bozos. In 1999, Turner made a joke about Polish mine detectors. Ted Turner himself is Polish, by the way. When asked about Pope John Paul II, after a harsh response from the Polish deputy foreign minister, Radek Sikorski, Turner apologized. That story is actually very funny. They were like, what would you say to the Pope if you met him? And he said, I would point to my foot and go, have you ever seen a Polish mine detector? And I would just point down to my foot. That's the joke he made. Obviously, the Polish got very mad. Do you kind of understand why I have a little bit more sympathy for this guy, regardless of him being an evil billionaire media demon? Do you see? Like, he has all of my interests, and he has stepped on similar landmines over and over again. Okay, from Polish jokes to shitting on the ultra Christian to this part, which is very good as well. In 2002, Turner accused Israel of terror. The Palestinians are fighting with human suicide bombers. That's all they have. The Israelis, they've got one of the most powerful military machines in the world. The Palestinians have nothing. So who are the terrorists? I would make a case that both sides are involved in terrorism. He then, of course, had to apologize for that remark in 2011. And about the 9/11 hijackers, he said, I forget what he said about the 9/11 hijackers, but he said something like that. He said something about the 9/11 hijackers as well. And he said, look, I'm a very good thinker, but sometimes grab the wrong word. I mean, I don't type my speeches and then sit up there and read them off the teleprompter. You know, I wing it. Also in 2008, Turner asserted that on PBS's Charlie Rose that if steps are not taken to address global warming, most people would die and the rest of us will be cannibals. Turner also said in the interview that he advocated Americans having no more than 2 children. In 2010, he stated that the People's Republic of China's one-child policy should be implemented. Oh, Turner calls attackers brave but a little nuts. Oh, hey, yo! I mean, come on, dude. This is what I mean when I say they don't make him like this no more. Like, think about fucking Tom Steyer, okay? Think about Tom Steyer and the way that he talks, the way he carries himself. Like, he's the closest equivalent here, like an eclectic billionaire who's like deeply invested in doing shit outside of what billionaires do nowadays. Like, we don't have guys like this. Okay. We don't have guys like this anymore. So I do feel a little fucking, Yeah, he also mentioned Bush and praised Fidel Castro. Of course, terrorists are brave, Ted. What are heroes? Ted Turner has crammed his foot into his mouth once again, this time calling the Twin Tower terrorists brave, comparing President Bush to Roman dictator Julius Caesar. Stunning an audience of students at Brown University Monday night, the man known as the Mouth from the South and Captain Outrageous also commended Cuban dictator Fidel Castro. Do you understand? Do you fucking understand what I mean when I say he's just... I wish we had more guys like this. Ted Turner's not Polish. I thought he was. Am I wrong? Was he a WASP through and through? I thought, where did I get that idea? I might be wrong. Turner is an English name. Half these guys don't have use their real fucking last names, bro. He was Turkish. Anyway, not to mention that he was a wrestling guy who once owned his own promotion. Yeah. So, do you understand why I feel a little bit sympathetic to this guy, though? Do you get it? His name is Robert Edward Turner III. I think he was as waspy as they come. I don't know where I got he was a Polish idea from. Are you debating Van Jones? Great question. I'm supposed to, but he stopped responding to me in the DMs. So I don't know. I want to, but fire writing, Chatter, this is not this is a classic. Okay? This person didn't come up with that on his own. Okay? This is a real fucking Zhou Enlai statement between the Chinese premier Zhou Enlai and Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev. I'll show you the OG in a second. New virus incoming. What the fuck? What is happening? What the fuck? What new virus? Hantavirus? What is it? The hantavirus kills you too effectively for it to become a full-blown pandemic. Is the kind of jaded analysis I look for from a virologist. What the fuck is hantavirus? Anyway, this was this is from the California debate last night. No,
I have said that billionaires like me should pay more taxes and the big corporations should pay more taxes.
Excuse me,
and
you
that's
literally
why,
said...
if this proposition is on the ballot in November, I'll vote for it. But going forward, we do need to go further. This is a one-time tax, and it also doesn't spread the money across the government the way everything else does. And specifically, it doesn't go to education and teachers and students, which is a critical need in the state of California. The tax I'm proposing to close a corporate real estate tax loophole is more money, and it's spread throughout the
only
candidate that's actually balanced two budgets.
Congresswoman.
I'm confused. Do you support the billionaire's tax that is going to be on the ballot in November?
Yeah. We watched this happen in real time, right? I'm the daughter of farmers, she said. You're a billionaire. We have nothing in common. Perhaps we do, murmured her New Yorker antagonist. What? Blustered Porter. We are, responded Steyer, both traitors to our class. So the original here, the original is a Khrushchev Zhou Enlai conversation. Okay, where that's what Zhou Enlai says to Nikita Khrushchev, right? This is also about how Khrushchev betrayed. It's at the time it was one of the issues that the Chinese had with the Soviets was that they had betrayed the Marxist-Leninist fundamentals. And they were no longer beholden to the original principles of Lenin. This is like in the de-Stalinization period, if I remember correctly, and China did not like that. However, regardless of my criticism of Khrushchev, I've also I also still maintain the position that he was a fucking lion, as you guys know, for bringing nukes to Cuba and allowing Cuban development to flourish in the aftermath of the Cuban Revolution. And the USSR did do a bunch of unbelievably cool things internationally during the Khrushchev period. So, you know, every leader, everyone makes mistakes, but then they also have their moments, right? You gotta look at the positives, you gotta look at the negatives. So everybody has those days. This was I saw this Van Jones thing. That's why you grade politicians on a curve. How would you grade Tom Steyer? I mean, I have no way to make an assessment on what he's going to be like right now, but in his current race, he is the best option. I have said that. You got to stop settling, my man. We leftists should only accept people who have never made a single mistake. Okay, well, obviously I myself have made many. So, yeah, I don't know how we got here. We were talking about Ted Turner, and I want to get back to that first. But yeah. So Ted Turner glazed a little bit, even though he's fucking billionaire media demon responsible for CNN. He was kind of cool.
His father killed himself.
He went against everything that he taught me, you know, to be courageous and hang in there.
Ted took over the family business and coped with the loss by working even harder.
He said,
there's a crazy fucking wording to use there.
Set your goals so high that you can't achieve them in your lifetime.
When Ted wasn't working, he turned to the sport he loved, sailing.
We gotta go fast as we can here.
And won the sport's top race, the America's Cup.
I had worked very hard. It took me a number of years to become a champion.
He put that same drive into expanding the business. In 1970, Ted bought a struggling TV station.
It was a broken down UHF television station in Atlanta. He was going to transform UHF television into...
He was also a stud. Like, he was hot. You know? Bro, Mr. USA 2025 just replied to the Yale student speech you reposted. I'm Republican, but this is fire. Lamau. Wait, what is it? Which one is it? It's the other girl who was talking about capitalism, right? And American imperialism. Mr. USA 2025? Who the fuck is Mr. USA 2025?
This new world of satellite television.
Ted renamed the station WTBS, and it became the country's first superstation.
What Ted made happen...
Check logs for quick hantavirus recap. Guys, I'm not going to fucking get into the hantavirus recap right now. Oh my God. Some of you are seemingly unbelievably excited at the prospect of talking about yet another fucking virus developing. Okay, we are not going to do that right now. Please stop spamming hantavirus related shit. Okay, we will get there eventually. Okay, stop.
Was just as important as the internet.
Hantavirus is serious stuff. It's going to be bad. Please read about it. I'm going to get to it, man. I'm just not doing that right now. That's my fucking point. Jesus Christ.
Revolution of the 90s and 2000s.
But starting out, Ted needed content. He bought the Atlanta Braves and broadcast their games nationwide.
The Atlanta Braves.
The Braves became America's team.
When we bought them in 1976, they were terrible.
By 1995, Ted and his team were World Series champs. As he built the superstation, he set his sights even higher on a 24-hour news channel.
I worked till 7 o'clock, and when I got home, the news was over. So I missed television news completely, and I figured there were lots of people like me.
People did look upon that as a foolish idea that was destined for failure, but they underestimated Ted Turner.
Most of the leaders of the world thought Ted was nuts.
We sign on June 1, and barring satellite problems in the future, we won't be signing off until the world ends. We'll be on, we will cover it live.
As based as he is, 24/7 news caused irreparable damage to our society. Yeah, 100%. Yes, CNN has been at the forefront of the brain poison that is American televised media for sure. Yeah, it's terrible. But he's not based. No, he had his moments. Come on, bro. He literally fucking said Fidel Castro was dope. He literally said the 9/11 hijackers were brave, but a little crazy. That's what he said. Come on, man. Are you fucking kidding me? He said, he said, they want to hate on a hustler like you. Yeah, he gave us Adult Swim, Toonami, very important for me specifically. Yeah, he's the Robert Oppenheimer of brain poison and 24/7 news in some ways, but he also had some cool ass moments.
I dedicate the news channel for America, the cable news network.
Take 11, Mike Keel.
CNN aired its first broadcast on June 1st, 1980.
Good evening, I'm David Walker.
And I'm Lois Hart. Now here's the news.
It took 5 years to turn a profit.
I lived for 20 years in my office.
He was one of us. I mean, he would be in his house coat down having breakfast in the Hard News Cafe.
And we'll get better by the end of the week.
Critics called it chicken noodle news. But the Gulf War would give CNN the respect it deserved.
You can hear the bombs now. They are hitting the center of this city.
It was the first time a war was broadcast live on television, and it was only on CNN.
I still believe that was the greatest scoop in the history of journalism.
You can see her there.
Ted didn't care as much about ratings as he did about being the most trusted name in news.
Ted also cared about the world. Over a 10-year period, he donated a...
Who gives a fuck about Ted Turner law? I mean, I do. And also, I mean, he's a very impactful guy. It's kind of funny to just be like, who gives a fuck about this guy? But like, I mean, he invented CNN, dude. What are you talking about? Like, we hate it. Sure. It's understandable, but why though? Not trying to be antagonistic, but seriously wondering, like, what's this guy's impact? Guys, he is the guy, the inceptor of the modern 24/7 news cycle. Are you guys fucking rage baiting me? What is happening? Read a book. Oh my God. Someone read a book, any book. Pick up any book right now. It might be a dictionary. It doesn't fucking matter. It might be a coloring book. It might be Kash Patel's book about the plot against the king. Just start reading. Oh my God. What the fuck is going on? I picked up Hillbilly Elegy. It's fine. Just read something.
$1 billion to the United Nations.
I'm no poorer than I was 9 months ago, and the world is a lot better off.
And he expanded his empire, launching networks like TNT and Turner Classic Movies. In his personal life, Ted was married and divorced twice with 5 children before he finally met his match, Jane Fonda.
She agreed to have dinner with me. For me, it was love at first sight.
I can't ever forget the reasons that made me fall in love with him. I've never met any human being that thinks the way Ted does.
Ted was a visionary, a titan, even Time Magazine's Man of the Year. But in 1996, he sold his networks to Time Warner. He got almost $8 billion.
I said, Ted, if you sell, you will no longer be captain of your own ship.
Ted Turner. Ted.
5 years later, Time Warner merged with AOL, and Ted was out.
Ted used the description, I've been fired. Ted got shafted, and it hurt.
It was more than just a company to me. It was a way of life.
Yeah, but what did he do? I'm gonna die. Bro invented CNN, okay? Like, baited? Okay.
He lost his empire and the love of his life. After 10 years of marriage, he and Jane parted ways.
But you love her still?
Yeah.
To this very day?
To this very day.
He fumbled the biggest baddie, Jane Fonda. Anyway, that's a big L. Big L for Ted. Big W for Ted. Also big L for Ted.
But Ted never gave up. His final act, saving the planet. He created the UN Foundation and the Nuclear Threat Initiative. On his Montana ranch, he made it his mission to save the bison.
Hi. Well, you never go home, do you?
I know. And he opened restaurants to ensure their survival.
Ted's love of the outdoors has made him perhaps the #1 environmentalist that I've ever known.
Before his 80th birthday, Ted revealed he had Lewy body dementia, a progressive disease. He spent his final years treasuring private moments, his ranch, and his family.
He wants to know that when he goes out, it will be with the love of his children and grandchildren.
You can never take away what he created and what he did.
We have never seen a man quite like Ted Turner before on this planet. And I don't think we'll ever see another one like him again.
There's the amazing American success story, the businessman, the visionary, the revolutionary who created really a media revolution. And you know, every single thing that followed him, anything in the 24/7 genre started with Ted Turner. Everything was a copy, if I dare say so myself, and not the best copies. He was the original, and he made us all proud, and he made us all hope.
If you want to consider it like the inciting incident to the creation of Fox News, you could potentially make that argument. But like, yeah, he's the guy who created the 24/7 news broadcast, right? CNN. And then obviously Rupert Murdoch is, in my opinion, a far worse media demon billionaire who is unfortunately still very much alive. But no, he didn't create Fox News. He created CNN. Okay, he created CNN. He is the guy who created the 24/7 news network. Okay, on cable television, he's the one who created that. Okay, before him, this did not exist. They didn't have like a 24/7 news cycle. Fox copied his model and turned it into opinion editorials rather than the way that CNN was operating, which was supposed to be. The way that CNN was operating at its inception was, unbiased, straight, objective reporting. Obviously, there's no such thing as unbiased reporting. Let's be real. But, they did a good deal of, State Department propaganda, as mainstream media is supposed to do, as mainstream media is tasked with doing. However, the way... I thought PBS was unbiased. The Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service, is unbiased. It's the most unbiased that you can get. Just kidding. I'm just more open about my biases. So, yeah, CNN was the only one doing 24/7 reporting until the U.S. did the invasion of Iraq. But, yeah, in some ways, he is like a Robert Oppenheimer-style figure, if you want to look at, like, the bastardization of media or whatever. But and they were destructive in their Afghanistan, Iraq coverage. Yes, guys, this is not a defense. This is not a defense of like CNN in general. Okay. This is not a defense of CNN as an institution. I'm just telling you why he was an impactful person in media history, both in the United States of America and also around the motherfucking globe. Okay? That's it. Because people were like, what's up? What's up with this guy? Like, why are you covering this? So I'm explaining it to you. Okay? Ted Turner had a dinosaur named after him. After he donated the fossils. Ted Turner had a dinosaur named after him, Sierraceratops turneri, after he donated the fossils found on his land to a museum. As far as billionaires go, he was well respected among paleontologists. Yeah, I'm not saying he's a great guy or anything like that. I'm just saying that he is an impactful figure in media history. But also, I do feel a little bit sympathetic to who he is, because he also had a lot of classic moments where he put his foot in his mouth, where he would say things that I think were objectively true, and then everyone would yell at him, including things about he's a 9/11 guy himself. He's also called Israel a terrorist state in 2002. That was what I was trying to fucking explain. He's defended Fidel Castro. So, like, what I'm saying is there is an enshittification that has taken place. This is just the reality under capitalism. It's not just the products that you consume and enjoy that are getting worse year over year. It's not the services that you take advantage of that are getting worse year over year. It's the fucking the class of the super wealthy guys who were, you know, eccentric that have also gotten significantly worse. Okay? That was the point that I was trying to make. Is Trump trying to retcon Ted Turner here? President Trump on the passing of Ted Turner. Ted Turner, one of the greats of all time, just died. He founded CNN, sold it, and was personally devastated by the deal because the new ownership took CNN, his baby, and destroyed it. It became woke and everything that he is not all about. Maybe the new buyers, wonderful people, will be able to bring it back to its former credibility and glory. Regardless, dude, he would kill himself, okay? Like, if he didn't have advanced dementia at his old age and recognized what was taking place with CNN post the initial merger that already was devastating for him, he probably would have just killed himself, okay? Yeah, sure. I'm sure he would love the thing that he founded turning into a fucking flesh puppet for Donald Trump and the state of Israel. Like, definitely very exciting. Yeah, he's rolling in his undug grave currently. Regardless, however, one of the greats of broadcast history and a friend of mine. Whenever I needed him, he was there, always willing to fight for a good cause. President Donald J. Trump. I mean, yeah. Turner calls 9/11 attackers brave, but a little nuts. I mean, that lives in my mind permanently. So, yeah. He was a little crazy. He was definitely a little crazy, a little interesting guy. But you know, obviously they're not going to fucking mention any of that shit on CNN.
Will strive for his vision of a better world, whether it was in news or whether it was in the philanthropy. He was the first of the modern day philanthropists after the Carnegies and the Mellons and the Rockefellers of their generation.
Wanted to let you know I was watching Mersheimer on the Good Judge Napolitano show yesterday, and as an insult, he called the Trump administration a bunch of pikers. He hit the word hard too. Maybe that's why he's not coming on the show. That's crazy. Papa Mersh heard my name and was like, what am I, a piker? I'm not going on this guy's show. He also loves saying that's the $64,000 question. He's so fucking old. It's so awesome. Like, that is the $64,000 question, okay, was a game show from 1955, okay? That's why it's hilarious. Every time he goes, and that's the $64,000 question, I'm like, there is not a human being on the planet that knows what you are referencing, okay? They're not alive. They're all dead. You're the last guy. You and Judge Napolitano are the only two fucking people that know what this reference is, okay? This is like the first game show. Oh, it's so funny. He's such a boomer. I love the guy. All right, let's continue.
As Wolf just pointed out, when he gave $1 billion to the UN Foundation, and then Bill Gates, and then Warren Buffett, and then Michael Bloomberg, and all the others joined in to follow in that incredibly noble pursuit. He was big, huge on climate, and that's a global issue, obviously. He was way ahead of the curve on climate and climate mitigation. And I remember asking him in one of my last interviews with him, what would you say to the young people who look up to you and who want to make their own first $1 billion? How would you suggest they do that now? And he said, climate, green technology, the green economy.
Boo. Ugh.
He
Boo.
was so sure, and he was always so absolutely right. And as Wolf was saying, you know, he was somebody who believed in breaking down the barriers between peoples and between nations. I remember when I was still, you know, in 1980s in New York, and I was climbing up the ranks. I started in September 1983 in Atlanta, and I remember when he banned the word foreign, and I was absolutely devastated. I wanted to be a foreign correspondent like Edward R. Murrow and all those people, and he brought the word international. And it wasn't just a little thing. It was because he didn't want to drive, you know, a wedge into people by calling them foreign. And he didn't want to have separation. Imagine that kind of leader and what we're left with right now when everything's about, you know, weaponization of identities and beliefs and all the rest of it. He was exactly the opposite. When he took CNN International in 1985, what he did was not just be the first ever global
No, I'm saying boo because he's like, oh, you can make money off of, if you want to make $1 billion, it's like, or if you're a billionaire, you can work on the climate agenda. It's just like, I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear that he's a billionaire. I know he is, okay, but it's just, you know, it makes me cringe.
TV 24/7 behemoth network, but he also chipped down the walls of state and authoritarian regulated media. So all these nations where the people could only see what they were fed by their authoritarian leaders, and I'm now talking about that part of the world, you know, he gave them something else. He opened their eyes to the rest of the world. And I thought that was absolutely fundamental. And he said to us when we were in the Gulf War, he said, look, I'm not going to force anybody to be in Baghdad, which of course was the enemy capital.
You're a multi-millionaire, buddy. His lifestyle was probably similar to yours. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no, I live exactly like a bill. Yeah. Yeah. And no, famously, $1 billion is very close to my level of wealth and fortune. That's not exactly, but compared to a normal person, no, that's, what are you talking? A billionaire is so rich that a multimillionaire is closer to a homeless person than they are to a billionaire. That's not how the math works. You're just wrong. Open the schools. Objectively. What the fuck are you talking about? Crazy how you're acting like $1 billion is 1,000 millions. Yeah. What is $1 billion, dude? Like 1,000 of these millions? Like what? And that's just one of those billions. He had more than one of those billions. He made $8 billion off of just the first initial sale of CNN. 8,000 of them. What are you talking about? Yeah, 11 days versus 32 years, okay?
United States. We had been reporting in Saudi Arabia and around, and we also had distinguished ourselves as CNN, the reporters there in Baghdad. But when it came to the war, you had the president, you had the, you know, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, you had all these people call Tom Johnson, our president, and say, you better get your people out of Baghdad because it's going to be real.
Obviously, I agree with you, but their point is probably when it comes to lifestyle, beyond a certain point, being a multi-billionaire isn't even that much more luxurious. It's just a bragging rights thing. No, it literally, there is levels to this shit. We just don't even know how to fathom the levels to this shit. So no, it's objective. The only reason why we think that way is because people that are at that level, with the exception of like Elon Musk, know better and shut the fuck up about it. Okay? It's not even remotely close. Okay? There is absolutely varying layers of wealth. Like these people purchase mega yachts and shit, and it doesn't even put a dent in their overall finances. Like they purchase mega yachts worth more than whatever I will make for my entire lifetime. And they don't even think about that purchase. That purchase doesn't even, they purchase that with the, like for them, the amount of wealth they have is so unfathomable that a mega yacht that they purchase is like me purchasing a fucking slice of pizza with my current level of finances. And that mega yacht is worth more than I will ever be worth for the rest of my fucking life. Okay, they're purchasing a mega yacht like they're door dashing. That is the level of finances that they're operating on. It's just not even close. There's two reasons why we can't comprehend it. Where it's like it's just so unfathomably wealthy. Like the number difference is so vast, so large that we just can't comprehend it at all in our minds. That's how big it is. But then also on top of that, it's just oftentimes these purchases are not done in broad daylight. So you have to like, Google it. You have to look at it. You have to search to see what they're up to.
They had a Navy with 159 ships, and now every ship is blown to pieces and lying at the bottom of the water. They had an Air Force, lots of planes, and they don't have any planes. They don't have any anti-aircraft. They don't have any radar left. Their missiles are mostly decimated. They have some. They have probably 19%, but not a lot by comparison to what they had. And their leaders are all dead. So I think we won. Now it's only a question of, look.
Bro, Hasanabi doesn't even have boat money for LA. What do you mean boat money? Bro, I live in a fucking normal mid-size home that people have called a multi-million-dollar mega mansion because it's like where it is. And I bought it with a fucking 30-year mortgage. Like, people make it seem like I just,
To go a big step further. But
anyway, I'm not even going to get into my fucking finances. It's just such a dumb conversation to have.
Very good talks over the last 24 hours. It's very possible that we'll make a deal. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good to see you. What are the status of these talks? Said they're very good. Just give us some insight as to where we are at this point.
And we've had some good talks before, as you know.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the next day, they're like, they forgot what happened. They're proud. Like
Ted Turner had a more similar lifestyle to you. Sure, he had more land, but ate at local diners he owned and didn't have a mega yacht, but a small sailboat. Dude, you're fucking nuts.
You get hit by somebody else that looks
Stop
like
justifying yourself over your wealth over and over again. Oh my God, I hate this conversation so much.
Pride. These people have great pride. The others do too. Enemies have great pride. We went into Venezuela. Smart people, great people. A really strong military. We won it very quickly, and we have a fantastic. It's been a great thing for Venezuela. The people are really happy. They're dancing in the streets because they have a lot of money coming in through the big oil companies that are all moving in. I was with ExxonMobil last night. The chairman was here, and we were talking about Venezuela, along with a lot of them. Chevron. They were all here last night. They all want to go there and elsewhere. We just hit a new high in the stock market. The stock market's the highest it's ever been. And I expected that the market would be down 20-25%. I was willing to do that to get rid of a crazy country. Crazy. The people, look, you talk about regime change. Their first level leaders are dead. Their second level leaders are dead. Some of their third level leaders are dead. I call that regime change. But I thought we'd be down maybe 20%, and we're up. The stock market's higher now than when we started this war. And I thought oil prices would go to $200, $250. It's at $100 now. And I think you're surprised, and I'm surprised. But even if it went to 200,
cool. It was $77 to fill my tank. Yeah, but don't you feel patriotic? Don't you feel patriotic and good that Israel gets to do the Greater Israel Project unimpeded? Shouldn't you feel good about that?
An excursion down.
Are you anti-Semitic?
Because we can't let them have a nuclear.
I'm alerting the authorities to your location.
This is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear.
Yeah, no, keep complaining, chatter.
As tough as they are, we want to keep them alive.
See if we'll allow that kind of anti-Semitism to manifest in this country.
Won't. And they've agreed to that, among other things. Yep.
Mr. President, you've had some recent back and forth with Pope Leo. I understand Secretary of State Marco Rubio is going to meet with the Pope tomorrow. What message do you hope he delivers to the Holy Father?
Well, I can tell you this, that as far as the Pope is concerned, and it's very simple. Whether I make him happy or I don't make him happy, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And he seemed to be saying that they can. And I say they cannot. Because if that happened, the entire world would be hostage, and we're not going to let that happen. That's my only message.
Complaining about gas prices is anti-Semitic, unpatriotic, un-American.
And we'll see you guys on June 14th.
Don't ever do it. Don't ever think about it. Don't ever think about doing it.
See a lot more. We'll
I
see
would
you
never.
probably tomorrow. I think it's going to be the biggest event we've ever had at the White House. I mean, the White House doesn't really do athletic events for the most part. And these are all the greatest champions in the world. They're the greatest fighters in the world. You can tell by looking at them. These are the greatest fighters in the world. How do you think if you went into heavy training? It'd be a little tough. Right? Have a good time, everybody. Thank you.
I did the math. Somebody with $20 million is closer to someone with $0 than to one single billion. Also closer to someone with $100 in their pocket than to someone with $100 billion. I'm totally against paying higher taxes, but higher gas prices are great. Yeah, no, same. I mean, it makes me want to grind harder, so that's good. I think it's good. It's good. It's time. It's time that we pay more. I think that I think the working class in the United States of America has had it too good for too long, okay? Too cheap. Americans need to experience a little taste of Euro-style gas prices in a country with none of the Euro-style amenities, in a country where there is no alternative modes of transport like, they have in Europe. That's what's really cool about the situation. I mean, there is something inherent. There is something ironic about the fact that Trump's biggest supporters are obviously more likely to purchase, Ford F-350 pickup trucks and drive 45 minutes every fucking day both ways to the job site where they never actually touch any of the material because they are usually the managers at the construction site. So those guys are the ones who end up eating the biggest cost increases here. So, that is an interesting irony in this process here. Some of his biggest supporters are the ones who are paying the most money now. But obviously, we'll get into it. We got a lot going on. We got a lot to talk about. We're done with the Ted Turner glaze that everybody was left confused by on the broadcast. They don't make them like this anymore. They don't make them like they used to. I wish that we still had some eclectic, wealthy people that did not shy away from saying things that, I may or may not have said as well. So, counterpoint, I know tons of Latinos with big trucks. Okay, so chatters don't understand money. A senior engineer at a major tech firm in San Jose probably has a multi-million-dollar net worth, and the living standards are going to look a lot like an upper middle-class union tradesman. Absolutely everything is degraded, including the quality of our rich and famous. Yeah. Very interesting predicament. Very interesting circumstance, in my opinion. It's just on the tax the rich issue, I argue your option is supported just to get you to pay more money. Yes. Will I be covering the FBI raid in Virginia? Yes. Lawfare, of course. Analyst Steven Zemler, who I really appreciate and retweet from time to time, has calculated the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran has cost $72 billion in just 60 days, 288% more than what the Trump-Vance Rubio-Hegseth administration claimed it was. Okay? And even that, I predict, is a conservative estimate. Okay? What is this? Franklin, the Nashville suburb, is now in the same district as rural Lake County, 200 miles away, and downtown Memphis, just as the founders intended. Here's the proposed map for the Tennessee redistricting as just sent out from the Republican Senate press office. Hashtag Tennessee LEG. Are you complaining about how much does it cost? That's anti-Semitic. Sorry. I meant this is good. It should be more expensive, I think. I feel a sense of duty, a sense of responsibility, a sense of great honor. I close my eyes and think about how cool it is that we're finally punishing the only sovereign country in the region that has created some standard of defense against the greater Israeli project. I don't want anyone to misunderstand me. I think we should give trillions to Israel. Okay, we should give Israel more money. Okay, we should give Israel more money. Israel Chai. I love Israel. I think it deserves more money. And I would never, ever in a million years come across as so anti-Semitic as to say maybe we shouldn't have wasted $72 billion on this bullshit rather than chart a path of diplomacy and peace with this sovereign country, the country of Iran, and then maybe use the $72 billion on American citizens that are suffering right now, build rural hospitals, fund the education initiatives in the country. I would never say such an anti-Semitic thing. I would never, ever in a million years say something like that. That would be devastating, obviously. I would never want that, really. I don't think we deserve it. I think Americans don't deserve these things. I think Israel deserves it. We should keep waging Israel's wars for them, and send American sons and daughters over there to make sure that no one can push back against Israel's greater Israeli project. So yeah, I'm glad that we got that out of the way. Let's go. White House gives mixed messages on Iran war as Trump says. Trump says Strait of Hormuz operation is paused.
On the war with Iran. President Trump has paused a U.S. operation in the Strait of Hormuz just 2 days after it began, despite claims it was working. He says it is to let, quote, peace process play out.
Gas in Tel Aviv is cheaper than in America. Israel has free healthcare and education. Yes, they deserve it. You don't. Hello? Yes. They also don't have any issues with abortion rights either. They deserve it all. You don't. Understand your position. Okay? Israel deserves free healthcare. Israel deserves free college. You don't. That's it. That's what at least I've gathered from my fucking politicians who keep talking about it like that. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. Otherwise, you'll get a million hit pieces written about how fucking anti-Semitic you are. Okay? Congress has decided for us. Israel gets to have all of its defensive and offensive initiatives covered by the American taxpayer footing the fucking bill. You don't get to have healthcare, though. Okay? You don't get to have healthcare. They do. Anyway.
Meantime, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the war is already over. Holly Williams is following all of this from Tel Aviv. Holly, good morning.
Good morning, Nate. If you are confused by what the U.S. is doing here in the Middle East, well, then so sometimes are we. Yesterday, the Secretary of Defense celebrated the success of Project Freedom, with a total of 2 American-flagged commercial vessels passing safely through the Strait of Hormuz, protected by the U.S. military. But then just hours later, the president said the operation was paused to try to reach a complete and final agreement with Iran. Meanwhile, more than 1,500 ships remain stranded by a waterway that used to carry around 20% of the world's oil, and Iran insists that it is still in control of the strait. The U.S. says the Iranian military tried to disrupt Project Freedom, including with cruise missiles, but the president and other officials maintained yesterday that the ceasefire with Iran was still in place. And to add to the mixed messages, while President Trump has said that fighting with Iran could resume, yesterday the Secretary of State seemed to contradict him, saying that Operation Epic Fury, the offensive stage of the war, is now over. Nate.
Holly Williams in Israel, thank you.
New reporting this morning about a potential peace deal with Iran. Axios is reporting that the White House believes it is getting close to an agreement on a one-page memorandum of understanding to end the war and set a framework for more detailed nuclear negotiations. That's according to 2 U.S. officials and 2 other sources briefed on the issue. It comes after President Trump announced a pause on Project Freedom, his plan to guide stranded vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. The energy markets reacting positively to the prospect of a deal, with oil prices falling more than 10% at one point this morning. Let's bring in MS Now contributor Inzamam Rashid in Dubai, former Undersecretary of the Army, Admiral James McPherson, and Joel Rubin, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State and the author of the new book, Saving Democratic Foreign Policy. Inzamam.
Do you think we would have at least more accessible or affordable healthcare if we didn't fund Israel's? I mean, we're not directly funding Israel's healthcare. We're just funding Israel's defense and Israel's offense, and therefore they have a lot more room to spend money on their own healthcare. That's number one. Number two, if we didn't actually spend it, if we didn't actually spend this money on Israel, right, we would spend it elsewhere. We'd spend it on some other defense initiative. It's capitalism. The reason why you don't have healthcare is not because the money is going to Israel. I'm just using that to expand on the contradictions. I'm using that as an example, right? It's not directly your healthcare funds that are being used on Israel, okay? The point is we're subsidizing the Israeli defense, subsidizing the Israeli offense, and then on top of that, we're using our military like a mercenary force at Israel's behest. However, if it wasn't for Israel, it'd be another reason for the American military-industrial complex. The point is Israel is not the only country that gets the benefit from this. The point is that we have this perverse interest in funding initiatives that keep funneling resources, our productive output back to the super wealthy capital owning class in this country. Okay? We put profits over the interests of people in this country. That's it. That's the reason why you can't have socialized medicine, because there's a guy out there, a faceless, lifeless, parasitic force known as a capital owner who is making money off of paywalling your healthcare, okay? And this is tremendously beneficial to the GDP, so it's not going to change anytime soon.
Break down what we know about this reported memo.
Well, Anna, let's be clear. This is an initial kind of proposal that's come from the US, worked up with mediators Pakistan, and is being handed over to Iran. Now, I've not seen specifically what's inside this memo, but there is some reporting from Axios. But firstly, the Pakistanis have been telling me today, sources within Pakistan who are linked with the mediation, that the prospect of a proposal to end the war is very likely in the coming days. So a sign of positivity. Now, what's inside this specific deal? Well, Axios are saying that there will be a declaration to end the war in the region. This will then start a 30-day period of negotiations on a detailed agreement to open the Strait of Hormuz. This also includes a limitation to Iran's nuclear program, potentially stopping enriching uranium to create a nuclear bomb for around 12 to 15 years. This will also lift US sanctions on Iran. It will have restrictions on shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, and the US naval blockade would be gradually lifted during that 30-day period. And the US have said that if negotiations collapse, then US forces would be able to restore the blockade or resume military action. And President Trump has come out today and essentially spoken about this in a Truth Social post. He says that assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is perhaps a big assumption, the already legendary epic fury will be at an end. He said that if they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be sadly at a much higher level and intensity as it was before. Look, I think this appears to be a positive step for now, but it does have to be received with a lot of caution, Anna, because we've been here before with proposals and with frameworks, and then we've gone one step forward and two steps back. I think what is a positive sign is that Pakistan is working incredibly hard behind the scenes with Iran and with the US to get the two sides to the negotiation.
Brett Baer had a phone call with Trump, and the deal timeline is a memorandum of understanding, and a deal timeline is looking to be about a week, which is interesting because that puts it on a trajectory to finalize by the time he gets to China. May 14th is when the Beijing summit starts, okay? 8 days from now. Now, this is only if you believe Donald Trump. You can't believe Donald Trump because never a deadline for Iran. The deal will happen. You can't really trust Donald Trump because he's not a reliable narrator of events. He is the worst possible person to listen to understand exactly where things are going. That's why you have to look at the other events that are in motion. The best possible way to analyze what is taking shape in the Strait of Hormuz is by directly looking at the Strait of Hormuz. Are there ships transiting through the strait? Are there not ships transiting through the strait? The best way to look at whether or not America is achieving its military objectives in Iran is not by listening to Pete Hegseth or listening to Donald Trump or listening to a million different Israeli analysts. but instead to look at during the tit-for-tat bombing campaign, whether or not Iran's forces were actually attrited. If that was the case, obviously, they would not have been able to successfully, continuously strike Israeli soil and strike the Gulf nation states. So you have to look at exactly what's going on what's going on in the ground, like what's going on in the strait, what's going on in the Gulf states. Are there ships transiting? Are there countries being bombed? Are they not being bombed? That's the only way to genuinely make sense of it all. And as far as the diplomacy goes, the only way to interpret what is actually happening beyond the futures pumping and dumping that Donald Trump is engaging in every time he opens his fucking mouth about the oil prices or what's going on in the fucking strait, is to look at the other external larger interests at play here. One of the biggest deadlines for Donald Trump obviously is the Beijing summit, as I kept repeatedly mentioning over and over again. Okay, he can't go to Beijing with no deal. He can't go to Beijing. He cannot go to Beijing on May 14th for the 2-day summit from May 14th to May 16th without having to deal with the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, it's an unbelievably weak position. He's going to go in an unbelievably weak position already, but right now this is to stop the hemorrhaging. Okay, not only is this important to stop the bleeding for the rest of the global energy markets, but also it's to stop the bleeding to have at least like a less weak position overall at the Beijing summit.
And I thought oil prices would go to $200, $250. It's at $100 now. And I think you're surprised, and I'm surprised. But even if it went to 200, it would have been worth it. I understood that. We had just set a record, and we're up.
Well, he will have to, unless he wants to take a huge L to actually make a deal with Iran. No, he's already taking an L, okay? Donald Trump and the American forces have already taken an L. America has taken a spectacular L here. Whether or not Donald Trump cuts a deal today, tomorrow, or 2 weeks ago, okay? As a matter of fact, we've already lost, okay? We have already lost. The point now is to pull out as fast as possible so that you stop the bleeding. But the issue is there's impediments. There's hurdles in front of making the smart, adult, responsible decision here. One of the major hurdles here is Donald Trump's own outlook, right? He doesn't want to look weak. He is a very petty person. He doesn't want to look like he lost. This is a huge deal for him. The other unfortunate reality is Israel. Israel doesn't want any sort of ceasefire to take shape here, and therefore will do everything in its power to stop it from happening. One of the buttons that Israel can push to make sure that this ceasefire is not real or valid is, of course, the continuous bombing of Lebanon, right? The United States wants to end this war and open up the Strait of Hormuz and pack this entire process up before they actually get to China. They also obviously don't appreciate the fact that as a hegemon, they have a different standard here, right? They have a different set of goals here. As the hegemonic superpower, with great power comes great responsibility. One of those responsibilities is to ensure that this kind of trade restriction never happens, right? All of the routes of trade, all the normal routes of trade have to be open at all times. America is supposed to be the guarantor of free commerce. This is something that I brought up yesterday because, like, a lot of people who want to defend Donald Trump will make it seem like the real standard here is how long can the American economy withstand pressure versus how long the Iranian economy can withstand the pressure. That's not the real dynamic here at play, okay? Not at all. The real dynamic here is not how long the American economy can withstand the pressure. American economy could to eat a lot more damage, tank a lot more damage. It's a far grander, far larger economy. It's an oil exporter, right? as opposed to Iran. Iran is a much smaller country, a regional power. I said this yesterday. I said the battle of attrition is not between the U.S. economy and the Iranian economy. The U.S. as the hegemon has a different obligation to fix the energy markets, especially after their initial Israeli bombing campaign caused the blockade. Your crash out will be legendary after Israel attacks Turkey next. It's cool. Anyway, why can't you see that this is all part of our beautiful president's genius plan? The art of the deal, geopolitics edition, baby. Yeah.
Table. I don't think they'd be doing that if they didn't feel that there was some prospects of a peace deal in the coming days and weeks ahead. You mentioned this has all come after President Trump's pretty remarkable U-turn of ending Project Freedom, which was there to escort vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Navy vessels would be escorting ships. That wasn't really all that successful. And today, as a result of the president lifting Project Freedom, the IRGC, the Navy command of the IRGC, have kind of given a bit of a gift back to the US. They've essentially said that we could see steps to reopening the Strait of Hormuz fully, which again, I think signals a positive sign that we could be going down the route of diplomacy. Anna.
Inzamam Rashid, keep up the great work there in Dubai. Thank you. Admiral, I just want to underscore, MS Now has not confirmed the reporting of this one-page memo, but we do know a Pakistani government official linked with mediating talks as a proposed...
Project Freedom didn't last too long. It was, that's how efficient it was. Okay? It was so efficient. Project Freedom was so efficient, they packed it up in approximately, 3.5 hours. They transited one ship. Iran immediately started implementing the blockade. Iran immediately started bombing the United Arab Emirates. And America was like, never mind, actually. We just don't even want to do it. We don't even like it. We don't even like transiting ships through the Strait of Hormuz, actually. It's not, it's fine. It's okay. We just give the world a taste of that freedom, and then we pull back.
Proposal is very likely in the coming days. How are you looking at this news? Does this sound like a real breakthrough to you?
Well, we've heard pronouncements before that we hoped were real breakthroughs, and they eventually broke down in the face of reality. I think we've a tip of the hat to Lewis Carroll. I think we've slipped down the rabbit hole, and we've now joined Alice in Wonderland. 2 days ago, the Secretary of State announced that Operation Epic Fury was concluded. It's over, therefore taking the War Powers Act off the table. And
new poll, most Republicans think Trump could beat them up. What? What is going... Dude, stop! Hey, I just gave my mom your stream because she needed a political commentator who wasn't insane. Can you be normal for like the next 25 minutes? No, I can never be normal. We're in abnormal times, okay?
Now we're involved in Project Freedom, which was soon paused by the president. Notice the change in wording. We went from an Operation Epic Fury to a Project Freedom. Clearly, operations are military in nature. A project can be anything in nature. And I think it's important to note that wording. It was an effort by the administration to address the criticism they were receiving with regard to not following the War Powers Act.
Joel, what has been reportedly proposed here is a one-page memo of understanding compared to the JCPOA Iran deal under President Obama, which was 159 pages long. What does that tell you about the potential agreement if it's just one page?
Yeah, Anna, clearly we're in the schizophrenic phase right now of our Iran policy, where every day brings a new twist and turn. And if we're to believe that now we have some type of framework, some type of limited agreement that the sides are focusing on, that in many ways does mirror the process for the JCPOA. Before the JCPOA, there was a JPOA. There was a smaller short-term agreement that set up the framework, created the terms of negotiations, so be it, for the parties to engage on, and ultimately leading to the comprehensive deal. It took months. And this goes to what the Admiral is saying as well, which is, frankly, if you're going to engage in these negotiations and cease hostilities, you're going to have to find some way to ensure that the pressure is maintained to have successful negotiations. That's what we did. That's what was done by President Obama. Sanctions were not lifted until a full agreement was reached. And so the big question is not just about what is in that one pager, but also what is the way to enforce that a negotiation process will take root and that it will lead to a sustained solution, and that we won't be stuck in the schizophrenia where every day seems to bring a new twist, a new turn, and new uncertainty about the end state of this war.
I want to play what Secretary of State Marco Rubio said yesterday about the U.S. goal.
As President Trump has said, and the facts clearly bear out, the United States of America holds all the cards. There is no scenario here in which if they decide to join a ladder of escalation, they wind
No more suits? Why? I like it.
up getting the last say. But our preference is for these straits to be opened to the way they're supposed to be opened, back to the way it was. Anyone can use it, no mines in the water, nobody paying tolls. That's what we have to get back to, and that's the goal here.
Well, try.
Trump was asked a question about Iran refusing to submit. Let's see what he had to say.
Wait, this will work. You're facing an opponent right now in Iran that has refused to submit. You seem optimistic now that you may be closer to a deal. What's different about this moment now than in other moments where a deal has seemed close?
Well, why do you say they refused to submit? You don't know that. You don't know what's going on.
You don't know that. They're submitting super hard. You don't know that.
On U.S. ships a few days ago.
Yeah, no, a few days ago is a long time ago. You know, in the world of war, a few days ago. No, they want to make a deal badly, and we'll see if we get there.
Yeah. They were just firing U.S. ships. Yeah, and a few days ago was a long time ago, you know, in the world of war, a few days ago. The world of war. It's awesome. We do deserve Donald Trump as a president. Like, as Americans, I do think sometimes that we kind of designed the world in a way where, you know, Trump is the perfect curse to exist under. I mean, seriously. He is so fucking stupid, man. He is not even remotely intelligent, curious. We really are a country that's just like, oh, that's worse than your 9/11 deserved comment. I mean, I live here. Okay. I fight back against this every day, but there is no other president than Trump in this current system that we exist under. There is just he is the logical conclusion. He is the logical conclusion of a country that has deliberately undermined funding education, a country that has refused to take a cold, hard look at our endless and senseless militarism overseas. Like, what's the expectation here? That we're going to have a fucking brilliant orator who is actually peaceful and not an unbelievable, unvarnished racist? Not going to happen.
Admiral, what do you make of Rubio saying the goal now is getting the strait back to the way it was?
Back to the way it was before we engaged in these hostilities through Operation Epic Fury. I wish I could be more optimistic, but I'm skeptical. And the reason is we've always heard the term the fog of war. Well, the fog of war is no more dense than that in the Persian Gulf. We've learned that over 40 years of naval engagement in the Persian Gulf. Things happen. And as every sailor knows, that happens quite quickly in naval warfare. So again, I'd like to be optimistic. I'm a little bit skeptical, particularly the first one, end of war in the region. What does Israel have to say about that? I think we're at a wait and see right now, and I hope we see favorably.
Joel, the U.S. blockade, as far as we know, continues. But even with the implementation of Project Freedom, Iran had still managed to keep most ships from transiting. I think officially we only knew of 2 ships that went through in that maybe 24 plus hours that the Project Freedom was enacted. Which country has leverage right now in negotiations, Iran or the U.S.?
Short answer is both. They're staring at each other. Ultimately.
Cope, that's the closest you're going to get to an acknowledgement that Iran has the maximum leverage here. an American analyst, even on MS Now, MSNBC, MSDNC, is never going to be like, Iran is cooking us right now. They're not going to say that because they're American at the end of the day. It's a pro-State Department network. This is a defeat. It's an unambiguous defeat for the American forces, and this is the closest to an acknowledgement that you will get from an American network.
Really, the structure of a deal is going to be one where both sides pull back from their hard positions, and we're looking at essentially a deal of opening the Strait of Hormuz for some type of constraint on Iran's nuclear program, its nuclear enrichment, maybe even extracting the highly enriched uranium that's sitting underground inside of Iran. But, you know, both of these sides, us and Iran, are hurting each other right now. Iran is suffering deeply because of our blockade, hundreds of millions of dollars in lost revenue daily. We are suffering here at home with prices at the pump. We have our military is stuck, in a sense, in limbo right now in the region, watching on a hair trigger, but not yet re-engaging militarily. But that's 50,000 troops. And so this is the moment where the mood music, as we're hearing, is starting to change because both sides are seeing that there's only so far they can take it. Look, to add, we're not going to go on the ground into Iran. We're not going to invade. We're not going to put troops there and seek regime change. That's clearly off the table. So now within the world of practical choices, what is it that we can seek and what is it that the Iranians can seek? And I think that's why we're hearing about these terms focusing on Hormuz in a trade for enrichment.
Around 2,000 vessels, 23,000 civilians stranded in the Gulf since February. Unwitting hostages caught in the crosshairs of America's war with Iran.
They're sitting ducks. They're isolated. They're starving. They're vulnerable.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio said these men and women had been left for dead.
And so President Trump, as he always does, stepped up and answered the calls for their help.
They told us that answer was Project Freedom.
As a direct gift from the United States to the world, we have established a powerful red, white, and blue dome over the strait.
A dome that had come down by the end of the same day. Last night, Donald Trump on Truth Social suddenly said that progress towards a complete and final agreement with representatives of Iran meant Project Freedom will be paused. Today, he said a deal would allow the strait to be open to all, including Iran, but no deal would mean the bombing starts, and it will be, sadly, at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. So what deal could end US military activity? According to Axios, the Americans hope a one-page memorandum of understanding could start a 30-day negotiation period. 14 points are said to include a moratorium on nuclear enrichment, the release of billions in frozen Iranian funds, and the gradual reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. But Iran said it had yet to respond. The flurry of activity comes ahead of Trump's visit to China next week with the Iranian foreign minister.
I don't understand. Why does the world not call out the lies of the Trump administration and go all in with China? Everyone is terrified of China. They consider they consider a world governed by China as the major superpower to be a scary, uncertain, uncharted territory. They don't know what it looks like. China is run by a single party, communist party, and China does have a tremendous amount of control over the flows of capital. It completely directs its own flows of capital. So their system is very different in many respects to the Western world system that has been designed to benefit capital owners. Okay, so that is the most terrifying prospect for capital owners that have dominated the world for the longest time. So that uncertainty, regardless of the fact that China says they're not invested in any way, shape, or form in changing the countries that they deal with and forcing upon a communist rulership or central planning over the countries that they invest in, there are plenty of capital owners who are terrified of the Chinese menace. Capital is afraid. Capital is also very collaborative with China as well. I mean, without China, they would not have had record high profits as they took advantage of cheap labor in China for many decades. But at the end of the day, the very same forces of capital that dominate the United States of America absolutely dominate our European allies as well in the exact same very meaningful ways. And therefore, from their perspective, it's good if you just use the Chinese labor force for cheap or even now precise manufacturing needs. However, it's terrifying if we lived in a world where China had China took over the role of the United States of America. It's terrifying from the prospect of the global capitalist class. So that's it.
Abbas Araghchi in Beijing today, making clear that while Trump will no doubt claim American victory, they see themselves as the winners in this war.
Our Chinese friends also believe that Iran after the war is different than Iran before the war, that it has attained an elevated international standing, that it has proven its capabilities and strength.
Donald Trump wants to spin this another way as he seeks to explain to Americans why he started what he has called a mini-war, a little excursion. Or today,
I call it a skirmish because that's what it is. It's a skirmish.
Addressing military mums in the White House, the president sounded hopeful about a breakthrough with Iran.
It's going very smoothly, and we'll see what happens. They want to make a deal. They want to negotiate.
But he laced the words with a threat.
We'll see whether or not they are agreeing. And if they don't agree, they'll end up agreeing shortly thereafter. So that's the way it is.
The toing and froing is nerve-wracking for those stranded in the Gulf, like this sea captain who described watching missiles passing overhead.
Then after exactly 2 to 2.5 minutes later, we could hear the explosion. We could see the light.
Must have been terrifying.
It was terrifying, yes.
Donald Trump is saying if this agreement isn't made, that the bombing will start and it'll be worse than before. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it is very disappointing to know this, but let's see what happens. He keeps saying so many things, but doesn't happen every time. We are helpless here. We can't do much, and we just try to keep ourselves safe. We seafarers have become the collateral victims here.
Whether it is a mini-war, a little excursion, or a skirmish, the impact of this military conflict has been huge. On the lives of those living and stranded in the Middle East, but also on the world economy as Iran discovered the power that can be extorted from this international waterway.
Well, oil markets reacted with a burst of enthusiasm to news of a possible peace deal, but that petered out as investors became less certain about whether it will work. Our economics reporter, Neil MacDonald, is here. So how are the markets reading this?
Well, as you're saying, I mean, this produced a dramatic reaction on the markets. But pretty quickly, for example, one London fund manager was describing this as a false dawn. I think energy markets assume that President Trump is looking for a way to get out of the war, and they're obviously going to jump on any sign that that is happening. And this is producing huge volatility, which is sometimes very hard to read. So this morning, the price of a barrel of Brent crude started off above $108. It then plummets on rumours of this deal. It goes well below $100. That's the lowest it's been for about 2 weeks. But then snaps back up. So down $11, up $6, all in the space of 5 hours. Though at the end of the day, one trader saying he thought there were probably too many red lines for Iran were going to be crossed in this deal for it to be a permanent settlement.
So what does this mean for the UK economy?
Well, if oil prices do settle just above $100, that will be an improvement, but it does not mean that the pressure is over. And let me just show you petrol prices and diesel since the war began in the UK. You can see how they peak mid-April, at which point petrol is up by a fifth, and I think diesel is up by more than a third. Now, they've stopped going up, but you'll notice from that line it's very hard to see any sign of them coming back down. I think the question is that the RAC was saying this morning the outlook is probably ominous for these prices. They say that last week wholesale costs were going up for petrol and diesel. If that is passed on, they believe that further increases in forecourt prices look inevitable.
Thanks, Neil. Now, the Israeli military has carried out a strike in the southern suburb of Beirut in the Hezbollah-dominated area of Dahir. The Israeli government said its jets had targeted the command.
Yeah, this is a predictable outcome. Obviously, even when there is a mere thought of a ceasefire, Israel obviously behaves in the predictable manner that it is expected to behave, which is to try and sully the deal, to the best of their ability by punishing a country that is in striking distance, right? That's usually how it goes.
So it's day 68 of the Iran war.
Jesus Christ, it's been 68 days. Oh my God. Oh my God. Victory after victory after victory, man. Fantastic.
Ceasefire seems to be holding between America and Iran, but nothing could be further from the truth in southern Lebanon. The IDF have released another series of 12 towns and settlements that they've demanded to be cleared. What is interesting when you see where they are on the map is the original buffer zone here to try and protect northern Israel, but actually only 3 of the proposed targets are south of the Litani River, where we thought the buffer zone might be extending to. Most of them are well north, so it does expose the fact that Israel may well have greater ambitions deeper into southern Lebanon than we had thought. Meanwhile, President Trump at the start of this ceasefire imposed it on Israel. Feels more like President Trump is tolerating Israel's attacks at the moment, because the more pressure on Hezbollah, the more pressure on Iran to come to some sort of deal. So turning to the Strait.
That's bullshit. That's insane. No, Israel is aligned, is a belligerent in this conflict, aligned with the United States of America, and is using this not as a mechanism to apply pressure to Iran. Israel is using this because Iran set the standard that, of course, Lebanon is supposed to be a part of this deal. The entire axis of resistance is supposed to be a part of this deal. Because otherwise, as Trita Parsi has explained over and over again, what takes place is America and Iran stop fighting one another, but Israel keeps hitting Iran's allies, but Iran can't hit America's allies. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Okay? So, of course, from the Iranian perspective, it makes total sense for the full-blown ceasefire to take shape with Israel also a party, because Israel's a party to this conflict. Israel knows that, and that is precisely the reason why they're hitting Lebanon over and over again in an effort to sully this deal, this ceasefire. That's exactly what's going on. The idea that like Israel is trying to apply pressure to Iran to come to the table is bullshit. It's the exact opposite. Right on schedule with reported U.S.-Iran talks, Israel initiates bombing of Beirut to sabotage any possible end to the war. That's exactly what this is. Okay? It is pure sabotage.
Strait of Hormuz. Project Freedom was originally designed as a humanitarian effort to ease the burden of those 20,000 seafarers that have been stranded in the Persian Gulf. But it very quickly became apparent that the actual objective was America to challenge Iran's control of the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, Central Command were very clear that there were fresh assets available for this, including 15,000 soldiers, over 100 fighter aircraft, destroyers and aircraft carriers. Indeed, Pete Hegseth even said there will be a red, white and blue dome over the Strait of Hormuz 24/7, providing that security. But the reality on the ground was that Iran fairly immediately actually struck 2 merchant vessels, one of which ended up with some casualties and some damage to the ship itself. Almost immediately, President Trump put a pause on that operation, but he also claimed that he paused it because of the progress of talks. The challenge with that claim, of course, is that dozens of times President Trump has claimed that talks are progressing, when actually it feels like that's more to placate the markets than reflecting how the talks are actually going. So where are we with these talks? What is clear is that America and Iran are not talking directly to each other, but Pakistan is acting as a great intermediary. We understand that Iran has put a proposal to America. America's considered it and handed its counter proposal back to Iran, but we're not sure where we are yet. What is clear at the moment is that their nuclear situation will be at the front and center of any negotiation. President Trump has been very clear that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. We understand the clause that's in the current round of negotiation is about a moratorium on uranium enrichment by the Iranians. The word moratorium sounds grand, but it actually means a delay or pause, a temporary, and therefore it's actually kicking the can down the road. We also understand that a sweetener for Iran agreeing to this term will be a lifting of sanctions and potentially also an unfreezing of up to $100 billion worth of assets. But I think the real challenge here is that we understand it's simply a one-pager document. The last time these negotiations happened, it took 20 months, big teams of people, lots of detail. So one pager will not cover that at all. It almost certainly will be a memorandum of understanding, some sort of framework for talks, which will not have any detail in it. It will allow both sides to declare victory.
$100 billion to go back to status quo? No, it's worse than that. Okay? It's worse than that. $100 billion lit on fire to go back to a worse deal from the American perspective than the JCPOA, a worse deal than the from the Israeli perspective than the JCPOA, a deal that is infinitely more beneficial to Iran, which, once again, I don't even have an issue with that. If we're being real, I think that diplomacy is a good thing. Longstanding peace is a good thing. The only possible way to do that with Iran is through the negotiations process, is sanctions relief. It's a good thing that we're doing that. I think it was cruel that we were applying such rigorous and rigid sanctions to Iran from the start. I mean, this was very clearly designed in a way to starve the Iranian population. It's not a secret. American leaders have openly admitted as such. So from my perspective, it's good. It's good that there's an ease in sanctions potentially down the line here. So, you know, they fought for it, and they suffered a lot in the process. They lost a lot of lives in the process, but it's totally appropriate to do this. But my argument always is, shouldn't we have arrived at this conclusion without killing 160 plus, little girls at school? Without allowing Israel to pummel Lebanon? Shouldn't we have done that from the start? If all wars end with treaties at the end of the day, if the only way to achieve long-standing peace is by way of negotiations, by way of diplomacy, then why don't we just do that first? That's always my argument. That was my argument in Ukraine as well. And that has certainly been my argument with Israel and Gaza, okay? And that is apparently Ted Turner's argument as well. Ted Turner, RIP, on the Iranian nuclear program from 2006. Often contrarian, Turner called it a joke that Bush demanded that Iran abandon any ambitions for nuclear weapons while at the same time hoping to ban all such bombs. They're a sovereign state, Turner said of Iran. We have 28,000. Why can't they have 10? We don't say anything about Israel. They've got 100 of them approximately, or India, or Pakistan, or Russia. And really, nobody should have them. Do you guys understand a little bit more why I'm sympathetic to Ted Turner? His perspective was very interesting, and we often don't hear shit like that from unbelievably wealthy people any longer. What is this? Gentleman and scholar Sebastian Gorka was asked today if Trump's war in Iran might create new terror threats. Dr. Gorka responded, "You are testicularly challenged. If you don't support this war, that's a low-T approach. The point of using force is to take something you wouldn't have gotten through negotiation, though, isn't it?" Yes. The problem is there is a geographic limitation. There is both the fact that Iran has been, for thousands of years, a fucking mountainous fortress that has not changed, right? And two, the reality, the geographic reality that the Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide, with only 2 miles wide of an area that you can actually transit these massive fucking oil tankers through. So for that reality was the same 47 years ago. That reality is still the same 47 years after. So recognizing that reality should have changed the calculation on how we deal with Iran. And yet American hubris did not allow that, reasonable method, the reasonable mentality to prevail here. And Israel finally found a president pliant enough, insane enough to go along with their ambitions. That's it.
And then look to discuss the details downstream. The big positive is that at least that would get the Strait of Hormuz open again. The challenge, of course, with talks is they involve compromise, and Iran clearly has leverage that will not be comfortable for President Trump. The trouble is his options are looking somewhat limited at the moment. One of them is to return to military action. There's no advantage in doing that on a big scale, but he might decide that if the negotiations fail, that he has to pummel Iran's nuclear capabilities even further. If they've been damaged, actually to destroy them in a sort of midnight hammer too. But that still won't open the Strait of Hormuz. Second option.
Yeah. Iran doesn't, I still think Iran needs nukes for full-blown sovereignty. But in the absence of a nuclear arms, or even like a payload delivery mechanism that they also have to build on top of the nuclear arms, they can control the Strait of Hormuz, which is the nuclear option for global energy markets. So clearly they have different methods of dominating America without building nukes and then having the threat of mutually assured destruction.
Is to continue negotiating. Feels like we're in a bit of a stalemate at the moment, with both sides waiting to see who blinks first. And the third option, of course, is for America to walk away, but that would leave lots of matters unresolved. None of those options are particularly palatable. There is one ray of light, though, that's just coming into view. China. There's a delegation from Iran, a senior delegation visiting China as we speak. Why is that important? Well, China takes about 50% of its oil supplies from Iran. Iran exports about 90% of its oil output to China. So there's a vested interest for China in getting the situation resolved and the straits open again. Meanwhile, President Trump is very keen to do deals with China and also wants access to rare earth metals. Therefore, bizarrely, it might well be that actually there's an opportunity for China to broker a peace and bring pressure to bear on Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. So where does that leave us? Well, despite President Trump's very aggressive America First policy, it's always worth maintaining diplomatic relations with not only your friends, but also your enemies, because you never know when you might need help, even from potential adversaries.
Iran's foreign ministry says it's evaluating a 14-point peace proposal from the United States. Now, that plan reportedly would center on a one-page memo to end the war and then 30 days of negotiations on stickier issues, including Iran's nuclear program. So the president this morning confirming some of what's in this proposal. He told PBS News that Iran would export its highly enriched uranium to the U.S. That's something that has been a red line for Tehran in the past. Trump also said Iran would agree not to operate its underground facilities and would operate in goodwill for a long period of time, so no specific timeline included there. Now, some reports say the proposal would also include a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and that the U.S. in exchange would lift sanctions and release billions of dollars in frozen Iranian funds. We do not, though, yet have any confirmation from the White House on those details. But Dom, a few things to note here about all of this. First, crucially, the Iranians have not yet agreed to any of it, and it's far from clear whether they would change their previous hardline rejections, especially on things like exporting highly enriched uranium, in order to make it happen. So that goes to one side of your original question about how much optimism to have. That said, it does seem, though, like the White House is warming to this idea of phased negotiations. That idea would reopen the strait and then leave the nuclear issues for later. The Trump administration had rejected that sort of approach in the past, as recently as just last week. But if they're up for it now, then, Dom, we could be that much closer to a deal.
So there was some coverage on Israel feeling blindsided again by this negotiations process. So in an effort to go against that media cycle, Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, immediately came out and was like, no, we talk every day. We talk and America gets their notes from us every damn day. Don't you worry about a thing. Here he is, the demon himself. Between us and the United States, there's full coordination between us and the United States. There are no surprises. We share common goals. Holy echo chamber. What would you like to hear instead? Chatter, go ahead. Explain to us what you mean by that. What is the echo chamber? Would you like me to say that America is doing unbelievably well? Because when people come in here and say holy echo chamber, it kind of feels like what you are looking for is to hear the exact same thing that the president is saying currently. You are the one who's demanding an echo chamber. Chat is the echo chamber. No one here has an original thought. Yes, you're a real free thinker. Go ahead, give us some of your free thinking thoughts. Let's hear it. Would love to hear from this free thinker for once. Okay. Real original thoughts, please. Go ahead. One of the most unoriginal things that you could possibly do is come into the chat and not even address the political discourse that's taking place and instead immediately go, oh, this chat is a real echo chamber. Perhaps it's because you have no free will and no free thoughts of your own that you immediately choose to go, pah, I'm above this. Go ahead. Elaborate. Give us something, anything about what your opinions are about the events that are unfolding in the Strait of Hormuz. I would love to hear from you, and I'm sure that you could cut through the noise and maybe even convince a lot of these chatters, save them even. Believe in yourself. I believe in you. Give me something. Yeah, they also say that they're prepared for all scenarios because there was some reporting that claimed that Israel thought that the war efforts were going to escalate and the military campaign was going to restart. And that they were frustrated that it didn't. He left, fake demon. It's always so funny when guys like this come in here and act as though they have some kind of independent thinking capabilities. And as soon as I put like the spotlight on them, they just scatter like a bunch of fucking scared cockroaches. Anyway, I've given to the Army and our security services. We're ready for any and all options. That's what they're claiming. All right, so that's what we got for the time being as far as the situation monitor. We'll be monitoring the situation once more with Evan Hill in a little bit, in an hour, where I will be talking to Evan Hill of Washington Post. He's the professional situation monitor. They just came out with their very comprehensive report on the extensive damage that the Iranian military has delivered to American assets in the region. Evan Hill is a journalist at Washington Post. We'll get to that later. Okay. You get paid, so you are a professional too. I am a professional situation monitor. You are right. I get paid because you, the people, pay me to deliver to you news for the people. By the people, for the people. Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service. For you, the people, by you, the people. Thank you. Just Ignore Meme. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 gifted subs. Michael Fusco Art. Thank you for the 10 community gifted subs. Support independent media. Closed Presidents. Thank you for the 20 gifted subs. I don't see any way that Iran agrees to a deal right now. I don't even think they have a reason to go to the negotiation table right now, as the U.S. has showed that they can't be trusted even with the perfidy aside. Trump doesn't hold his end of the deal with allies. What reason would Iran have to believe that the U.S. would hold up their end of the bargain with an adversary? China, Russia, and a multilateral commitment, because this deal will only take shape if Iran feels like they have actually established necessary military deterrence. Okay? And as it stands currently, they might be feeling that way. Okay? There will be guarantors of this long-standing peace and long-standing ceasefire treaty. There will be, European partners involved in this. There will be Chinese and Russian partners involved in this. And that's the only way that I think they'll be comfortable that's the only way I feel like they'll be comfortable with the deal. Jeremy Scahill says there's intense diplomacy, exchange of amendments on a potential memorandum of understanding between Iran and the U.S. The entire process is a damning indictment of the fact that this is a war of choice by the U.S. A deal could have been reached in February or much earlier. Trump will try to manufacture a claim of victory for putting out parts of a raging fire he started. But the fact is, Iran inflicted a level of damage and displayed a resolve that stunned Trump's administration, and they have flailed to find a way out. Despite the assassination of its senior leadership, Iran engaged in organized, sustained retaliatory strikes, and its government remained intact and in power. The promised uprisings or regime collapse never materialized. Iran used asymmetric tactics to create a severe crisis in the Strait of Hormuz that the U.S. could not defeat, culminating with the failed Project Freedom farce. Aqua's right about you. I don't think you should ever admit that you agree with DJ Academics on anything. He could tell you that the tastiest donuts are Boston cream donuts, and I still wouldn't openly admit that I got that information from DJ Academics or agree with him on that. And let me tell you, that's an area that he has a lot of experience in. If you had the capacity to feel shame, you would recognize that many of my naysayers are not exactly people that you should be openly writing for. Anyway, nothing is guaranteed, and the U.S. twice bombed Iran while claiming to be negotiating. That could happen again, but time is not on Trump's side. The U.S. will have to make concessions that Trump swore he would not. This is not going to end with Iran's unconditional surrender. Okay? Iran has kept its condition that any ceasefire or non-aggression agreement must apply to Lebanon and other regional allies. But we do not have any formal sense of the position of the U.S. has laid out in the back and forth. Also, not clear if Israel would be party to this agreement. But beyond the situation monitor, let's get back to what's going on in the United States of America. Multiple arrests as FBI executes warrants tied to Dem senator. This is the cool Democratic senator, state senator in Virginia that played a formative role in the redistricting efforts in the state. And of course, predictably, lawfare is taking shape here in the United States of America. Hold on.
People in that string of FBI raids across Virginia. This is all connected to an influential Democrat in the Commonwealth of Virginia, State Senator Louise Lucas. They are at her office executing warrants as a part of a major corruption probe. So I want to go back now to Alex Hogan, who's there. Alex.
Hi, Harris. So you can still see that the FBI are behind me. We've been seeing them throughout the morning, bringing boxes in and out. They also told staff members they needed to leave the building. We heard some of those employees coming out saying that they were told they had to leave and they were not allowed back inside. I do want to give you some context of where we are. The FBI not only arriving here at this location, but also at the dispensary, the cannabis dispensary, just across the parking lot. And this is a look at what it looked like earlier today with the FBI agents arriving, SWAT teams getting out of their vehicles with weapons, telling people inside that cannabis dispensary to put their hands up and to come outside. At least 3 people were taken into custody. Federal law enforcement say that they're carrying out these court-authorized criminal search warrants at more than 10 locations across the state. Again, this is the State Senator Louise Lucas's office behind me, but we're also learning that she is connected to this dispensary here. Senator Lucas is president pro tem, meaning she's one of the highest and most powerful figures in the entire state legislature. And when she arrived here, I asked her about being here as the FBI raided these locations. Take a listen.
Is there anything that we can say about what they're doing? I don't know what's going on. I just came from another report, so I'm just gonna wait until they tell me.
So again, dozens of members of the FBI arriving here and being here throughout the last hour, taking boxes of documents we could imagine from the office behind me. They're also still at this cannabis dispensary. We have seen the senator circle around a couple times in her vehicle. Clearly, as we heard her say in that comment, that she doesn't know why they're here. A lot of questions for the people in the community who are coming out taking pictures, wondering again what their senator could potentially be involved with, as we're waiting to hear more information as well. Harris.
All right, Alex, thank you. Keep us posted as you have. Great reporting. Be sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is totally ridiculous. Okay, Obama appears to criticize Trump and Colbert. We're not going to get to that first. Totally ridiculous. 100% deliberate. this administration is weaponizing law enforcement. We already know that they're weaponizing law enforcement. And the reason why they're doing it is because this was a very outspoken advocate for redistricting. And Donald Trump hates, especially black women in general. Donald Trump hates black women, period. But a loud, outspoken black woman who also achieved results against the Republican Party in securing additional Democratic Party seats, oh boy, you know, probably the number one op of this administration, number one op of white supremacists, and certainly the number one op of Donald Trump. Okay? Ken Klippenstein? Ken Klippenstein shared a new 14-page counterterrorism doc. Leftists and radical transgenderists. Yeah, I know. Yeah. This looks like the arrest and eventually execute the opposition shit that they were talking about early on. This feels like why we need to get prepared Second Amendment-wise before it's too late. I mean, you know, do what you will. But yes, as it stands currently, the courts are the last bastion of defense against the complete erosion of liberal democracy in this country. And they have, you know, they've held strong. I will admit, they have held strong. And there is not really much we can do beyond. I mean, I don't even know. There's not really much we can do beyond community organizing in general, and to push back to the best of our ability. But that's where we're at, 100%. SCOTUS held strong. No, I'm talking about the lower courts in general. Because like whenever shit like this happens, there's usually the first line of defense is like a prosecutor that refuses to comply, and then after that they will go and find a pliant prosecutor that will actually abide by Trump's ridiculous demands. SCOTUS ultimately is cucked, but Donald Trump's unpopularity paired up with the fact that there are still plenty of judges all around the country, even Trump appointee judges all around the country that still want to maintain some semblance of liberal democracy in the country, that are you know, in their final moments doing the right thing. This isn't to say that like I trust the courts, that you know, things are looking up or anything like that. I'm just simply stating what has taken place thus far, right? And what's taken place thus far is the only thing that we have, the last line of defense here is the law. It shouldn't get to that point, but that is the case. Anyway, do you think once Trump fails in Iran, he will heavily escalate his domestic fascist efforts? I mean, I think he will probably move to Cuba to try to secure like a W for himself. I know that sounds insane to say out loud, but I think that is the way that this government operates. I can see that. There are instances where the administration is refusing to comply to court orders, but, you know, I fuck with the tie. Contrary to what people have been saying, I'm glad you're leaning into your old age and wearing more suits. Thank you. How does this humiliating defeat in Iran leave them with any appetite for another invasion? What do you mean? We're not a rational country, chatter. We're not a rational country at all. We're not behaving in a rational way. We're just looking for like smaller and smaller W's. I would go so far as to say that like Iran is on the pathway to a much larger conflict against China. And the problem, of course, is that America's capabilities have diminished. Or rather, its opposition's capabilities have increased, especially because they can wage asymmetric warfare. And in the asymmetric warfare model, especially if they're sitting on top of a gold mine, per se, that is the Strait of Hormuz, then they have the capabilities of dishing out a lot more damage while withstanding a lot of damage internally. being called unk by a 28-year-old law, I mean, I'll take it, whatever, who cares? Like, what took place in Iran was a miscalculation of that exact same sort. Cuba, on the other hand, will most likely be a lot easier than Iran. Unfortunately, it pains me to admit this, but Venezuela is the reason why Trump got the appetite for Iran. But the Iranian failure won't actually cause Trump to second guess military conquest. It will force him to be even more vindictive towards countries in a manner not dissimilar to Israel. Israel knows it can't do shit to Iran. So what does Israel do? They punish the Palestinians in Gaza. They punish the civilians in Lebanon, right? They bomb civilian populations in countries that don't have the same capabilities of self-defense. That's just how it is. What would be the global response to blowing up Cuba? Nothing. Nothing at all. What do you mean? What was the global response to Venezuela? It was nothing. So the global response to Cuba will be nothing as well. The only reason why there is a global response that is, somewhat tempered still in comparison to the unbelievable destabilization that America has brought the rest of the world. The global response to Iran has only taken shape because there are global consequences. There are no such global consequences in the Cuba endeavor. Cuba doesn't sit on Cuba doesn't sit on a strategic choke point like the Strait of Hormuz. Cuba doesn't have underground missile bunkers. Bro, Cuba is 30 minutes off the coast of Florida. They can hit back harder than you think. I don't think so. My mom saw one of your 2020 takes and flipped out, so I sent her your stream, and she just texted me, "You look so nice. Why do you say such critical things?" And I forgot that suits are like lingerie to conservative women. Smart style choice for this moment. Well, someone gets it. That's the point. Yes, it really is. Anyway, let's get to Bardock No Bummer. Barack Obama appears to criticize Trump in an interview with Stephen Colbert.
Some very pointed comments for President Trump from former President Barack Obama in an interview with Stephen Colbert. The 44th president criticizing the expanding powers of the executive branch, including President Trump's use of the Justice Department. Weisha Zhang is at the White House. Weisha, good morning. President Barack Obama had some thoughts.
Good morning, Gail. Good morning to everybody. The former president actually went on The Late Show ahead of the opening for the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago, slated for next month. But yes, he had plenty to say about the presidency and how the Oval Office has changed since he was in charge.
It's this struggle.
Shouldn't China threaten the U.S. if they touch Cuba? They would never in a million years. I'm sorry, chatters. China does not give a fuck about any other country but China. They will never. The only reason why they're even remotely invested in what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz is because it's a strategic choke point that they get their energy from as well. They want to stabilize the Gulf so they can get back to trade maxing. They care about stability above all else. They care about Chinese interests above all else. They have no investment whatsoever. They are unbelievably resistant to any kind of disruption against the United States of America. They will never do that. I think part of it is because they've seen and perhaps attribute a lot of the USSR's failures to its internationalist perspective, to its international solidarity against like growing socialist anti-colonial movements. China is non-interventionist through and fucking through. That's it.
The idea that we, the people, includes everybody.
During a taped interview on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Colbert asked former President Barack Obama about the expanding powers of the executive branch and what powers he believes whoever is the president should not have. Obama did not mention President Trump by name, but he nodded to critics who say Trump has leaned on the role of Attorney General and the Justice Department to pursue investigations into his political adversaries, including former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. Obama also spoke about the president's power as commander-in-chief.
He's just saying the most like basic shit, and they're getting thunderous applause. He's saying the most basic stuff and getting thunderous applause. It's just like, yeah, no shit, man. I mean, he's right. Yeah, he's right. I don't know. I expect a little bit more motion from perhaps one of the most popular figures in the Democratic Party as it stands currently. You know, just a little bit more. The only one saying basic shit publicly, no, there's definitely more need than just this. In the next video, he talks about liberals versus leftists, which will be more interesting to you.
Post ABC News Ipsos poll on Trump's approval rating found only 37% of Americans approve of his job performance. This interview dropped just 6 months before a contentious midterm election when the U.S. is wrapped up in a war with Iran and gas prices continue to climb. We have asked the White House for a response to Obama, but have not heard back this morning. Vlad.
All right, Weijia Jiang reporting from the White House for us this morning. For more on this, let's bring in our chief Washington analyst, Robert Costa. Bob, as Weijia just outlined, this criticism comes as President Trump faces some very, very tough political headwinds. You frequently speak to President Trump. What do you make of this, and how might President Trump respond?
Good morning. There's always a political dance for former presidents. They don't always want to weigh in on current affairs, but with the opening of the library, we see former President Obama doing just that, not using President Trump's name. But his comments reflect a growing confidence among many Democrats nationally that ahead of these midterm elections, the headwinds are around the White House right now, that the Democrats have a real shot of winning the majority. But we can expect, based on my conversations with White House officials and top advisors to President Trump, he is going to fight back. He believes he has executive authority blessed by the Supreme Court, and he has the political will to fight.
All right, Bob, I want to pivot here and talk about something else. Last night, there were some closely watched primaries across the country, as you know, and in Indiana. 5 Republican state senators in Indiana were backed by President Trump, defeated candidates who opposed a Republican redistricting plan. And then Ohio, you had Vivek Ramaswamy, who won Ohio's Republican primary for governor. So what's your overall takeaway from the results of last night?
It's a real sign that President Trump's push to have redistricting across the country to redraw political maps so they're more favorable to Republicans, especially in red states where he believes legislatures in the states can do just that. If you don't follow his lead and take his order, you could pay a political cost. So those Republicans in Indiana, some of them who opposed President Trump's push on redistricting, they were defeated in primary elections. And it's a real statement that despite the president's problems...
Bro, they spent millions of dollars in races that are like maximum 50 grand to 100 grand just to elect 5 out of 7 new seats because Donald Trump's feelings were hurt that the incumbents in the state legislature in Indiana refused to do redistricting because they were like, our constituents don't want this. Well, it turns out their constituents actually want one thing and one thing only, and that is having sex with Donald Trump. Okay? If you're shocked by that Indiana outcome, you've never been there. No, I'm not. I'm not shocked by the Indiana outcome at all. Okay? There were 7 priority seats that Donald Trump wanted to unseat. They literally found whoever they could, people that didn't even have any investment in running for these local district seats at all. They spent millions of dollars and they got 5 out of 7. They only won due to low turnout. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to explain to you that, like, 2 things that I'm trying to explain to you right now is, one, the Republicans in Indiana are just fucking purebred hogs, okay, through and fucking through. That's number one. It's just a lesson for the rest of the country. No matter how small a seat might be, if you oppose Donald Trump, you're going to get elected out of office. Okay? That's number one. Number 2, people might literally say, no, I want my representatives. I want my representatives to represent my interests. I don't give a shit about, like, redistricting. As a matter of fact, I only care about the cost of living. They should work on that. Okay, it turns out that's not the case. It turns out when the president says jump, the people in Indiana say, how high? Okay, they are obedient cattle. They are absolutely a product of this cult. They are 100%, at least the ones who go out and vote, are a part of a cult. Okay, straight up. So even when you have Republican elected representatives in the state legislature that are like, we are going to abide by the better wishes of our constituents. We're going to listen to our constituents. They say they don't give a shit about this redistricting. As a matter of fact, they're against the redistricting process. So we're not going to abide by the whims of the president. You get punished for it. It sucks. It sucks. But that is the reality. Now, let's get back to Barack Obama. Barack Obama had a conversation with Steve. Oh, God. Okay, Nancy. Okay, Nancy Pelosi. Oh, I want a strong Republican Party. No, I want no Republican Party. Okay? I'm going to be very honest with you. I want an ineffective, feckless, weak, kind of like the Democratic Party is currently. I want the Republican Party to be like that. I want a Republican Party that is utterly dominated and humiliated in broad daylight, that people are embarrassed to say that they're voting for a Republican. Okay? That is the reality that I want. Okay? I don't understand why liberals still play this song and dance where they're like, no, I want a strong Republican Party and
pussy too.
Crazy. It's crazy. How about no Republican Party? Okay? I want such a strong party platform for whatever the left flank party is. Doesn't have to be the Democratic Party. It could be whatever you want to call it. Okay? I don't care about, I have no party loyalty in general. I just care about policies. I care about advancing the interests of the working class. Okay? But let's say in a hypothetical ridiculous scenario, it's the Democrats that, got their shit in order. I want that party platform to be so solid that for generations, people don't even think about voting for the Republican Party. And the Republican parties are actually, the Republican Party and its representatives are actively conceding to the demands being made by said party that they look like a shell of what they used to be. That is the future that I want. That is the future that I know we can have. Okay? Wrong. I think this is a very clear, different school of thought. Okay? If I am to take what he is saying at face value, wrong. Wrong again, Bob. 100% wrong. Okay? Absolutely not. The idea that we are going to find this beautiful moderate center when we have two different schools of thought, two different ideologies that are constantly competing with one another as even interlocutors in the marketplace of ideas. And that's exactly the golden mean. Bullshit. One, Republicans never operate with that mentality, and that's why they fucking win. Even though they have a toxic agenda, even though they have horrifyingly bad policies, they still win because they never come to the table with concessions in mind. That's number one. Okay? Number two, what you are describing is gridlock regardless. That's precisely what people hate about American politics in general. Like, even if this idea was correct, that there was actually like two strong parties and they were just like dishing it out and trying to find the perfect solution. Like, no, there's usually one solution that is actually perfect, the one that actually centers the working class. You don't want any opposition to that agenda. I don't want any opposition to that agenda. That opposition is the reason why we couldn't get the public option in the ACA. Okay? And that wasn't just a strong Republican Party that opposed it. They did all oppose it. There was also opposition within the ranks of the Democrats. Do-nothing Democrats. Or a sequence of rotating villains, specifically Joe Lieberman in his circumstance, that destroyed voting for the public option. Okay? There were corporate Dems who stood idly by and were excited at the prospect of destroying the public option. It's totally ridiculous.
With respect to Democrat liberals, as you describe it.
Like, I would, the best possible future where you have a true left party and the Republican Party is basically the liberal Democrats, okay? That is a much more productive, much healthier future trajectory for America, okay? Where you have a real socialist, communist, leftist, workers' party, and then the right flank opposition is the liberals, okay? The liberal Democratic Party, that is the current Democratic Party, that behaves in the exact feckless way that the current Democratic Party behaves, constantly conciliatory to the demands being made by a much stronger party, okay? That's what I think. We absolutely should not have a fascist, illiberal Republican Party. We should not. The Republican Party, the Overton window in a perfect society would shift so far away from the current far-right perspective that it is centered around, that the Republican Party would resemble the Democratic Party. Amongst the Democrats for this, by the way, you'll never get the positions like that with, what is this, David Sirota? Obama unveiling an oligarch-funded shrine to himself, and amid everyone in America being fleeced by oligarchs, and almost too on-the-nose bookend of a presidency that bailed out its Wall Street donors who were throwing millions of Americans out of their homes. Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising to me that is what's happening, okay?
Things that
feel, okay, you only get away with saying something like this because in the United States of America, there is no political education, right? There is a real rift between the left and liberals, okay? There is. And that rift exists on not just the methods, but the ultimate goals as well, okay? The left broadly, starting in the United States of America, adjusted to the current understanding of American politics, starts at social democracy. I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me. They're going to say that's not an anti-capitalist opinion. In the United States of America, it gets treated like it's fucking communism. I'm sorry. Okay? And it ranges from social democracy all the way to full-blown anti-capitalism, Maoists, Maoist third worldists, Marxist Leninists, anarchists, right? All of this stuff. And for the most part, these guys are seen as unbelievable radicals. One of the greatest examples of this is Zohran Mamdani, who was a democratic socialist, but his platform that he ran on to become mayor of New York was modest social democracy, right? Bernie Sanders is another great example of this. Like, none of these guys are actually advocating to seize the means of production. They're operating within the framework of bourgeois liberal democracy, liberal capitalist democracy, and in many respects, in many respects, they're trying to pull politics to a more sensible perspective. Okay, and that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing because adjusted to the mass politics of the United States of America currently, even that stuff is seen as radical by the media and obviously our oligarchs that consider any kind of erosion of their profit margins to be the most untenable reality. Okay? But there is a significant difference there because I guess the most, like the easiest to understand significant difference is this. Are you willing to hurt profits or not? Okay? Are you willing to target profit centers or not? Even social democrats who want modest regulation on unchecked, unfettered capitalism, okay, will still say, yes, we should actually erode profits a little bit. I'll give you an example, okay? When it comes to housing, even social democrats recognize that the housing bubble has to pop, right? Many social democrats still recognize the housing bubble needs to pop. This means that the existing inventory of housing that is treated as a speculatory asset, even though it's not supposed to be, it's supposed to be homes for people to live in, will actually reduce in value, okay? Liberals, by and large, do not believe in this. The Democratic Party, as a national party, will never get on board with this agenda unless we force them to, okay? And it's not just housing either. This is just one example that I'm using. Liberals, for the most part, do not want to harm profit at all. Social Democrats and the broad left, Social Democrats being the furthest right of the leftist movement, still are comfortable or outright demand a reduction in profits. Okay? That's it. If you put profits over the interests of people, you are a liberal and you are closer to the right, in my opinion, than you are to the left. So that's a big difference. That's a big ideological difference. We can use vague generalities all day, every day to say everyone has the same interest. Everyone has the same interest. Okay, Republicans have the same interest too then. After all, the reality of the matter is everyone wants what's best for their countrymen, right? Like the Republicans aren't literally saying, oh, we want to like cordon off undocumented migrants and like drop them into concentration camps overseas because we want what's worse for America. Although the outcomes are worse for America overall, it's unbelievably violent, it's heinous, it's rude to say the least. But they're saying that because they think that's the best possible way to, make a better America, right? Make America great again. So technically, everyone wants what's best, but we just simply have a disagreement on the methods of arriving at what's best. Okay? You can say that you can extend that to all the way to the MAGA movement. Wow, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it does. It does. Like using technical language or academic rhetoric is poison for a mass politics, any kind of mass politics. So there is truth in that. Except the reason why Barack Obama is saying that is because he's just, trying to imply that we got to cut it out with the woke shit or whatever, right? Whatever he believes. He is defending his own version, his own ideology, which is, neoliberalism. That's his agenda. That was his agenda of governance. That's what he did when he was the president. So it's not, I don't disagree that jargon does play a big role in this, right? I try to the best of my ability to make sure that it's as easily understandable as possible, my message, right? When I talk, when I communicate. A lot of people unironically will look to that and say, I'm fucking stupid, or I'm a revisionist, or I don't know, I don't understand the dense Marxist literature because of the way that I communicate about these issues. I try to bake that worldview into normal, polite conversation. It's really fucking annoying that I get to hear this all the time. It's one of the funniest things I hear from the true vanguard of the communist revolution in this country, which is Hammer and Sickle accounts on Twitter who don't do anything but just fucking chirp online all the time. Is the idea that I am a fake radical that utilizes the popularity of Lenin. To me, that's the funniest fucking thing you could possibly say, because the average American either doesn't know who the fuck Lenin is or assumes he is a terrorist or possibly like Adolf Hitler, but socialist. Okay? The average American doesn't think Lenin is a popular guy. I mean, it's hubris. It's ridiculous. It shows how sheltered and how uneducated Americans are. Okay? But it is very funny that people think that in the United States of America in 2026, that Lenin is like an objectively popular figure that I'm actually stealing the shine from. Okay? Yeah, people think Karl Marx is a dictator that killed 100 quintillion people. Okay? That's what Americans think. So if your mentality is so clouded that you think that the average American actually has a positive association with Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, the dragon that is Lenin, okay? The revolutionary, then you're lost in the fucking sauce. Go talk to some real people, please. Now let's get back to Barack Hussein. Damn it, Steven. Come on. This was supposed to be a productive conversation. Ugh. And then we move on to aliens, really? You're talking to the former president, the most popular Democrat in the country, okay? You have an opportunity to hear a little bit more about the distinction between the left and liberalism from his perspective. It's not anything that we haven't heard before from Barack Obama, obviously, but...
And pussy too.
and that too, obviously. But like even then, I would like to have him elaborate a little bit on this distinction, and not like fucking aliens or whatever. I don't even care to listen to the rest of this conversation. I don't care about the alien shit.
Hedge fund CEO.
Yeah. Real question, is Zoran more popular than Obama at this point? Probably not, but close? No, not even remotely close. Are you crazy? No. Amongst Democrats? No. Barack Obama is the number one guy. Okay. Across the board, I would say Bernie Sanders is probably the most popular politician in the country still to this day. But no, Zoran Mamdani is too green, too young, too new for most Americans to have a positive or even negative association with him. He is a very popular figure, and he's certainly very popular in New York City. That popularity is obviously going to go away. He's not the most popular anymore. Last message. Wait, Barack Obama's not? He is the most popular Democrat, I would say. Barack Obama is the most popular Democrat, unless something has changed. I'm pretty sure he is. Bernie, even after his pro-Israel, anti-gun control bullshit, first of all, to the average American's perspective, Bernie Sanders is not pro-Israel, even if he technically is. Again, what do I always say? You have to understand what the average person thinks. If you were to tell the average person that Bernie Sanders is pro-Israel, he's a liberal Zionist, they'd be like, what is that even? What are you talking about? Okay. And secondly, his anti-gun control attitude is the reason why he's much more popular across the board. YouGov has Obama, the Arnold, and then Bernie. That makes sense. Yeah, Barack Obama, his popularity is at 54%. Arnold Schwarzenegger at 54% as well. Bernie Sanders at 49%. Oh my God, Kamala Harris at 45%. That's insane. Joe Biden, 45%. Elizabeth Warren, 41. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 41. Zoran Mamdani, 40%. Hillary Clinton, 38. Charlie Kirk, 36%. Tim Walz, 37%. This is from the New Yorker. Barack Obama's popularity is immense. A Gallup survey last year found that he was seen favorably by 96% of Democrats, leaving some to wonder why he isn't doing more to counter Trump's assault on democracy. Yeah, some is me. I'm the guy. I'm some of the people. Now, I'm not totally wondering why. I have my opinions on it. I won't elaborate. But more people should be asking that question of Barack Obama. Why aren't you doing something? Anything, please. Anyway, it's ridiculous. In a perfect world, Barack Obama would literally lean into the left populist movement and do everything in his power to prop up people like Zohran Mamdani. He'd be going to Philadelphia and hanging out with Chris Rabb, and promoting him in this, plus 43, the bluest district in the country. He would be leaning heavily into the insurgent campaigns that are taking shape all around the country. And he would be associating himself with this growing movement. Obviously, it's not going to happen. But that's what would happen in a perfect world, right? I do not want Obama anywhere near DSA members. Thank you very much. Brother, buddy. The goal of the DSA is to not only win power, but also to boost membership so that we can instill class consciousness among Americans and also engage them with political education. Buddy, Barack Obama is the most popular Democrat in the country. That's why I didn't have any criticisms for Zohran Mamdani aligning with Barack Obama. Okay? That's why I said it was a good thing. Okay, what is your job? Your username literally says join your local DSA, and you're over here fucking gatekeeping people joining DSA. I know people will say, Hassan, here you go again. You are pro-American empire. No, I'm just a realistic person who understands how the average American's viewpoint is on these sorts of issues. Okay. Obviously, it's never going to happen regardless, so you guys don't have to worry about it. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. And I know there have been there's been so much discourse, so much back and forth on this. Like, if your goal is to win national politics today when we have developed no real power and can only work with liberals, then this argument makes sense. I shouldn't have to explain how ridiculous thinking from that framework is. I'm prepared for a 20-year struggle, legal and illegal, electoral and not electoral. Okay. Until a third party isn't an idea, but the material reality we have created with our own hands. People unwilling to engage in such a project shouldn't be considered a part of the communist movement, and we should ignore their thoughts on what we should be doing. Great. I think people should ignore my thoughts. If you're building a third party movement, great, fantastic. Okay. When you build it, I will be there. Okay. A lot of people yell at me and say, Hassan, you're not building the third party movement. You should be the one building the third party movement. And to them, I say we have different methods because we have a very different assessment. We have a very different assessment on what the current realities look like for mass politics in this country. Okay. I've seen the average American. I've heard the average American's perspective on communism, on socialism, on Marxism, on Marxist-Leninism. Okay. And the only reason why that perspective has changed dramatically since, prior to 2015, prior to 2016, is because Bernie Sanders said he was a socialist and ran for president. And ran against a corrupt elite establishment figure like Hillary Rodham Clinton. Because if Bernie Sanders was running against Barack Obama, he would not have achieved the same level of success that he did. Let's be real, because Barack Obama was charismatic. He was also seen as an insurgent figure as well when he ran against Hillary Rodham Clinton as well. Okay? The chatter's trying to jump to 0.5 in the plane, and the country hasn't even gotten the country hasn't even gotten off the ground. Yes. So that is the reality. I'm not saying, vote for Democrats, libbers, okay? Do what you want. But right now, I see the biggest hurdle against building a working class movement or a working class party, the lack of class consciousness in this country as a direct byproduct of hundreds of years of Red Scare propaganda. If you know anything about me, you know that I am not shy about being called a communist. Okay, I don't care. Yeah, sure, whatever. Who cares? Right? I'm not like one of these, anti-communist Euro-socialists. I'm not one of those people at all. But I also am very cognizant of the hurdles that remain in front of people even recognizing their own socialist tendencies. Sometimes you have to reduce the language down to its bare bones. Okay? Waning normies away from libs is your method. Curious, not judging. I just think it's enough with the meta commentary. I mean, it's a good time to have this conversation. Okay? I think we are not retreating. We're openly socialist. This is an important component of winning socialism. Am I not an open socialist? I am. I've described it over and over again. There's a reason here. Here's the thing. Okay. Class contradictions heightening is an important factor. It's not just coming from politicians. Yes, but if there's no organizational capacity, it doesn't matter if class contradictions worsen, because you can't take advantage of the revolutionary potential of the masses if there is just class consciousness or without class consciousness. Just class contradictions in and of itself will not magically cause people to start recognizing their class position. It actually leads to a tremendous amount of lumpenproles, as a matter of fact, as we've seen over and over again. The average guy living in a fucking trailer park should be a self-described communist if that was the case. Why is that not the case currently? Think about that. Why is it that there are so many people living in the United States of America barely making ends meet, very frustrated the way things go, and yet they turn around and they vote for reactionary politicians. They vote for fascism in this country, even if that fascist politician will end up killing those people in the end of the day. At the end of the day, why do they do that? Because they don't have class consciousness. Because there is no real organization that they can see themselves as a part of. Former left-leaning Lib Dem here, now DSA 100% because of the curiosity spark watching the stream. Yes, that's my goal. That's what I continue doing. Talk about Memphis or I riot. They're taking our vote away. Okay, man. Please don't riot. Okay? Talk about Memphis, you nut. We are not progressive. We are socialists. We are at war with the Obama wing of the Dems. Yeah, I don't think you understand what I was saying. Okay? I do not think you comprehend what I'm saying at all, okay? we are at war with the Obama wing of the Democrats. Yes, what Obama currently represents is the centrist wing of the Democratic Party, the corporate wing of the Democratic Party. But what Obama represents to the average Democrat is the last time where they felt any fucking hope with a competent leader in charge. Okay? Anyway, one day I'll hit the communism button, the international communist button. I just have it at my desk, but I keep accidentally hitting the place button instead. You know, where I just shock Kaya. All right. American Jewish Committee also apparently had some choice words to say. Last point I was going to make by not just like the American Jewish Committee, but also Democrats, unlike hammer and sickle emoji users on Twitter, Democrats, corporate Democrats specifically, are actually, hate to say it, much more intelligent than many of these other Twitter posters are. They understand that the party is currently weak. They understand what I'm doing better than the communists on Twitter do. Okay? And that's precisely the reason why they do everything in their power to make me into a toxic figure. Okay? A figure that people must avoid, a figure that politicians never should go around. Okay? Dude, you are losing it, Hassan. Wait, what? If Obama supported ICE instead of the military, you guys would see he's a fascist, but the children killed aren't Americans, so he's left. Lamau. Yes, I'm losing it. You're right. Yes, you're right. How dare you accuse Twitter leftists of not thinking strategically and just tweeting whatever comes in their head? Yes. TikTok defending you.
As a wise man once said, Hassan Piker could be in the back smoking crack, and I would take 1,000 of him over Liz Cheney, 1,000 of him over John Fetterman, 1,000 of him over every single never Trump Republican that joins the party and then doesn't change how they view political, economic, or social issues, but only just disagrees with Trump, and that is the only thing that gets them into the tent. I'm tired of it, y'all. I'm tired of it because a lot of y'all don't fundamentally disagree with him. You're just don't like the way he presents himself. You don't like that he's vulgar. You don't like that he's like reminds you of a dude in college you didn't like. And I can't argue against that because a lot of y'all fundamentally agree with the points he makes. You also believe what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. You also want to see the end of ICE. You also want free health care and a better working system for the American people. You just don't like how he looks. And I can't argue against that. But can we be serious? White supremacists are being invited to the White House by the president. As a wise man once said, Hassan Piker could be in the back.
It's true. Twitter posts are irrelevant. This combo always goes nowhere. Venting session is true. That's also true. Crack smoking stream when? Soon. Anyway. Ironically, the smooth bearing response to you highlights exactly why the U.S. left isn't ready for whatever these LARPers are advocating for. Yeah, there is no organizational discipline. There is no class consciousness in this country. Before you build that, there will never be a active, robust, successful working class party or a working class movement in general. Even our union density is dog shit, and the unions that exist are corporate unions. Some of them are pig unions. Like, it's just not like we don't even have a functioning trade unionist movement in this country, and motherfuckers are talking about building communism now. I'm not defeatist about the way things are, even if I describe to you exactly how devastated, how attrited successfully the working class movement is. Okay, yeah, Lenin's party was tiny before 1917. What's your point? Oh my God, brother, you are comparing the material conditions in Tsarist Russia to industrialized America, the imperial core. Okay? This is ridiculous. We are living in 2026, man. It's important to understand the successes and the failures and not repeat the failures, but build on the successes. You speak as if your method is achieve success. If you wait for the conditions you speak of, it will never come. What do you mean wait for it? What do you mean wait for it? Am I waiting for it? Does it seem like I'm waiting for it? The point here is you are waiting for it. Okay? You're not doing the fucking work. That's the problem. Many people are not doing the work. All they're doing is chirping at someone who has perhaps the same goals, okay, perhaps the same have you brought upon increase in unionization rates? Okay, chatter, let me ask you something super serious here. If you think that I am unsuccessful outright in, delivering any sort of material change, okay, then first of all, you're agreeing with me. You're agreeing with my perspective, okay? As a singular force in American politics, if I have not been able to dramatically increase unionization rates, for example, even though there are plenty of people who have unionized their workplaces because they became Hasanabi heads, but that's besides the point. Let's say that's a blip, right? Which it is. Then how the fuck do you think I have the capacity to build a Marxist-Leninist party in this country? You fucking idiot. That's my fucking point. That's my point. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're right. I think you speak so condescendingly when your methods haven't achieved anything. Your methods are not even methods. You don't have a method. All you have is chirping in a fucking Twitch streamer's chat that you also recognize, just like the Twitch streamer does, has no fucking power. Whatever modest gains I've been able to achieve here and there is still endlessly larger than whatever the fuck you've done. That's my point. We are strong, united. That's it. That's my point. I'm not simply waiting for a spontaneous revolution to happen. Okay? I'm trying to build the necessary organizations for when those contradictions worsen as they are currently, so that people have the necessary tools. First is awareness of your class. Then comes political education. Then comes robust organizing efforts and labor militancy. We're not even on fucking step one. That's the difference. Some of you are fortunate enough to have arrived at these conclusions, but you unfortunately don't realize others are nowhere near where you're at. That's the whole point. Anyway, someone like Hassan Piker, Nick Fuentes, and their ilk should not be welcome anywhere. When you say America deserved 9/11, when you say the Holocaust didn't happen, you are not welcome. At the Milken Institute Global Conference, Ted Deutsch spoke out strongly against the explosion of anti-Semitism in online spaces. Man, what the fuck does America deserve 9/11 have to do with anti-Semitism? Like, what is that even? Why are you tying those two things together? One is directly anti-Semitic, saying the Holocaust didn't happen, which Nick Fuentes regularly traffics in Holocaust revisionism, Holocaust support, whatever you want to call it. But what the fuck does this have to do with anti-Semitism, dumbass? Social media companies have a duty to curb hateful speech on their platforms, just as politicians have a duty to shun extremist rhetoric from their parties. Anyway, all right. Mayor Zohran Mamdani, billionaire Ken Griffith battle over pied-à-terre tax. Ken Griffith says Zohran Mamdani put the crosshairs on him and actually threatened his life.
CEO Ken Griffin is once again taking aim at Mayor Zohran Mamdani as their feud over the pied-à-terre tax continues to escalate.
And in just a few hours, the mayor will be making a housing announcement. Eyewitness News reporter Phil Tate is live in the Morrisania.
I missed your reaction to Obama. How do I rewind? Wow, what a fantastic question, chatter. Right as there's a hype train going on, you can subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service, and support independent media. And one of the amenities you will get if you subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime is the opportunity to rewind on the broadcast. If you're watching on a desktop, some of the other amenities include being able to use these emotes all around the platform. Or Vixandra, thank you for the 10 community gift subs. You can also gift subscriptions to others in the chat as well, others in the community as well. But some of the other amenities are the ability to send me links. There's no guarantee I will be clicking on those links, but you can do that. Okay, let's watch.
Section of the Bronx with more on all of this. Good morning, Phil.
Yeah, Tanya, Pedro, good morning. In just hours, Mayor Mamdani is expected to appear outside of this Morrisania apartment building just right behind me, and that's as the city has reached a settlement against the property owner at around $31 million. Now, I just spoke with someone who lived in that building off camera who tells me that, yes, there have been a ton of issues from elevator outages even to lack of heat and hot water. Meantime, we are watching the fallout of this feud between Ken Griffin and the mayor as they're not quite seeing eye to eye when it comes to those taxes on second homes that are quite expensive amid New York City's ongoing budget challenges. You may remember this video posted weeks ago from the mayor outside the home of hedge fund CEO owner Ken Griffin saying he should pay more taxes on his $238 million penthouse.
Bro, this gives the game away. For an unbelievably wealthy person like Ken Griffin, like the demand that they pay a little bit more in taxes on their, 11th fucking property is akin to a death sentence. Like, he literally is just like, what? This is the scariest thing that anyone has ever suggested. Okay? For the bosses, a fate worse than death is the fate that many of you experience on a daily basis. It is to be reduced to a worker. Okay? That's what it is. They treat it like you're getting thrown in fucking prison. Like they put the handcuffs on you. Like you're going to the gallows or something. Oh my God. You are going to tax my 11th fucking property? My penthouse is $238 million? That's basically like demanding the gallows.
His chief operating officer had questioned whether a planned Midtown construction project would move forward following the attack on Griffin. The project, the redevelopment of 350 Park Avenue, that would create 6,000 construction jobs and more than 15,000 permanent jobs. At a conference in California, Griffin said he would probably go through with the project, but the mayor's video left him to expand his base in Miami, calling it an immediate and direct consequence of the mayor's poor decision.
What the mayor of New York has made clear to my partners, and principally my New York partners, is that we need to double down on our bet in Miami because we want to be in a...
Yeah, it's not going to happen, big dog. I know for a fact that's not going to happen. Good luck. Have fun with that, okay? David Dan says, I was in the room and it was impossible for there to be more whining in his tone. He pretty much compared having his high-rise apartment in a video to Trump assassination attempts. Yeah. Here is Bronco Marcetic from Jacobin. Why is nearly a 60-year-old businessman talking like this? Here's the quote that he had. Looking at what Mamdani did to me and more broadly is doing to the city of New York is triggering the trauma I went through in Chicago. Triggering the trauma? What are you talking about? It's not even soy right, though. This is real. Okay? This is sincere. It's hysterical, but it's sincere. Okay? For a multi-billionaire, the demand that they pay even a crumb in return in exchange for being able to live and have properties in one of the coolest, nicest cities in the entire fucking planet, New York City, is basically like a death sentence. How dare you?
State that embraces business, that embraces education, that embraces personal freedom and liberty, and that embraces people having an opportunity to live the American dream.
And the mayor's office responding to those comments saying in part, quote, Mayor Mamdani wants all New Yorkers to succeed. That includes business owners and entrepreneurs who create good paying jobs and makes the city the economic engine of America. It also includes Ken Griffin, who is a major employer in our city and a powerful figure in our economy.
Yeah, Mamdani's tax the rich slogan is just as hateful as racial slurs, New York real estate titan says. Stephen Roth, the CEO of the real estate giant Vornado, was sharply critical of Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Creepy and weird is what Ken Griffin had to say Tuesday at a conference about Mamdani's campaign-style video touting the tax outside the hedge fund manager's $238 million penthouse. Stephen Roth, the CEO of real estate giant Vornado, went further Tuesday on an earnings call. I consider the phrase tax the rich when spit out with anger and contempt by politicians both here and across the country to be just as hateful as some disgusting racial slurs. And even the phrase from the river to the sea, Roth said, refer to the pro-Palestinian phrase. Oh my God. They're adopting the Israeli Stratford class is perfect. That's exactly what it is.
Consider the phrase tax the rich, quote, tax the rich, but spit out with anger and contempt by politicians both here and across the country to be just as hateful as some disgusting racial slurs and even the phrase from the river to the sea. What these polls seem to be saying is that the rich are evil, or the enemy, or the targets, or maybe even just suckers. But the rich whom the politicians are targeting, started with nothing, are the epitome of the American dream. They are our largest employers and largest philanthropists. And it is the 1% that pay 50% of New York's income taxes. They are at the top of the great American economic pyramid for a reason. They should be praised and thanked. I must say that I can...
Yeah. Guy who's definitely not out of touch is like, hey, you know what billionaires are like? The beautiful nation state of Israel. You know, two concepts that are broadly popular in all of the circles that I frequent. Well, I don't understand. Why won't you worship me, a billionaire, like you worship the beautiful nation state of Israel? Two things that are obviously broadly popular. And if it's not, what do you think of her criticism of you? What is this?
Has come a long way to make himself palatable to the American public, especially American liberals, by only working with the DNC and DSA and constantly platforming people like Bernie Sanders and AOC on his stream, which is the way that he's been doing content for like a decade now, and I think it may be time to wrap it up. But every time I talk about Hassan Piker, I always get comments from white men. It's only ever white men.
Why do you send me this? Guys, come on. She's right. Like, and then all the fucking dudes in the chat are going to go in there and be like, me. It's like, I don't care about any of this, okay? It's great. It's great. It's great. Okay? It's she's right. I'm wrong. Who cares? Okay? God damn it. I should stop clicking on these fucking vent posts. Oh, holy fuck. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay? Yes, I will wrap it up. I'm done. I'm over. This project is done. It's time for new people to come in. Okay, it's time for new people to come in and build the communist movement that I will be terrified of, because deep down I'm a cynical capitalist. At the end of the day, I'm a sheepdog for the Democratic Party. I'm a liberal Zionist. I'm a pro empire kind of guy. Okay, I really get my rocks off when children are being slaughtered overseas. You guys got me. I will stand in opposition to that real movement that was going to be built. You are a wrecker. Me? Yes. It's true. It's true. Careful, Fox News might start praising you. Ugh. I don't think these kinds of conversations are productive. I don't want you guys to go over there and fucking attack people that have constructive criticism in general. Okay? You need to stop. You need to stop doing all that. Just anytime you see a take where you're like, oh, man. Anytime you see a take on the internet that pisses you off, you know what you should do? Smile and dial, okay? Go and phone bank for the DSA today, okay? I need 10 phone banks from all of you, okay? Anytime you see shit like that and you get upset or frustrated, you smile and dial and you call up Kathy Hochul's office and you say, hey, as a New York resident, I am very frustrated with the fact that you are allowing austerity to take shape in New York, making New York City unaffordable for the working stiff like myself. Okay? You should tax the rich so they pay a fair share back to New York City so we can fund these programs and make New York City the best city in the country, if not the entire world. Okay? That's what you do. When you get mad about stuff like this, use that anger into more productive routes. Okay? Every time I call my New York politicians, they hang up on me. You leave a voicemail. Shocking stuff from the CEO of Vornado Realty Trust on his latest earnings call is not so shocking. If you know how these guys think and operate. Starting to think he called it Vornado on purpose to align with the kink. Anyway, start stream. No, she won't listen. What? Okay, stop criticizing the other person. Okay, stop criticizing the other person that I accidentally clicked on. Please, no more fighting. Okay, you're not advancing socialism or communism or whatever the fuck when you also go into the replies of someone who's criticizing me. It's just as unproductive, if not even more unproductive. Okay, it is not lost on me that these fucking whiny billionaires are literally saying you must worship us like you should worship the state of Israel. Two entities, two concepts, two groups that are unbelievably unpopular with the working class. But they don't recognize that because they only go to the fucking Milken Institute. They never actually react to the average Joe. They never actually are around regular folk. They're so unbelievably removed, far removed from the working class individual, the ordinary stiff, okay, the average Joe, that they can't even comprehend what the average person thinks about billionaires or fucking Israel. It's hilarious. Matt Stoller says this whiny billionaire just drove Spirit Airlines into liquidation. He's now trolling the mayor of New York City because he doesn't want to pay taxes. Oh, and he got Florida legislature to strengthen non-compete agreements so his hedge fund employees can't leave. Great guy.
So where does that leave us at 350 Park?
That leaves us with the fact that we went to Miami and revised our building plan to make it a bigger office building.
You're bailing?
So what do we do at 350 is still a point of discussion internally. But what is no longer a point of discussion is that Miami is now, you know, when we moved from Chicago, there was a debate between New York and Miami. It's unquestionably true that we made the right choice. I'll leave it at that. It's unquestionably true that we made the right choice. And now what the mayor of New York has made clear to my partners, and principally my New York partners, is that we need to double down on our bet in Miami, because we want to be in a state that embraces business, that embraces education, that embraces personal freedom and liberty, and that embraces people having an opportunity to live the American dream. And
yeah, here's the thing, okay? The reason why look, there's this concept of the Laffer curve, right? The idea that if you raise taxes so much that you end up diminishing taxable revenue because wealthy people will find ways out of it and they'll leave and they won't actually pay those taxes. Now, in reality, that's not what happens at all, okay? And perhaps the greatest example of this being bullshit is the fact that currently wealthy people have the capacity not to live in California and yet still choose to do so, even though California taxes are far higher than other states. The reason why they still choose to live in California is because California is fucking awesome, okay? And part of that is because there are places where there's higher taxes that also have higher quality of life, okay? When these people turn around and say, oh, we're going to go move to fucking Miami, okay, have fun, right? Have fun with that. You're probably not going to. As a matter of fact, during COVID, a lot of upper middle class people moved to places like Miami, moved to places like Texas, and now they're coming back to these big urban centers, okay? Now, here's the thing. Is there such a thing as like as too high taxes? I guess there could be, right? There's reasonable debate on this. We are nowhere near that percentage right now. I believe the Goldilocks zone is like what? Top marginal tax rate being at like 70%. Currently, it's 34, I believe, or 35. So we're nowhere near that. It's at half of where it could be, okay? So the notion that like we are so cruel and so ruthless to the wealthy is fucking idiotic. Okay, it's a lie. It's a lie advanced by corporate media because their job is to defend the interests of super rich billionaires and millionaires. That's the thing. Okay, that's the reality. The notion that the super wealthy will leave if they have to pay a higher share of taxes is completely ridiculous. It's utter nonsense. People in New York already pay a higher percentage in their taxes. The super wealthy already pay a higher percentage in their taxes, and they still choose to live in New York. Why? Because it's fucking New York City. Okay? So Zohran Mamdani's agenda in New York City that Kathy Hochul should absolutely get on board with, because it is broadly popular, it's unbelievably popular, is to make the city more affordable for the people that are working there at the behest of these billionaires and millionaires. It's that simple. Because eventually, if you drive up inequality, if you keep pushing austerity, if you keep reducing the services the city offers that require taxable revenue, okay, if the roads are filled to the brim with potholes, if the buses don't arrive on time, then you have a less productive workforce as a consequence of that. That actually hurts the productivity of these mega corporations in the long run. It's ridiculous. I agree with you, but looking at other places, successful wealth tax requires or at least is largely well assisted by an accompanying draconian exit tax. It's a win-win. Oh, I'm 100% in agreement with that. Yes. But that is the nuclear option. I don't even think it needs to get to that point. So these guys, when they say, oh, we're leaving, it's always like one or two people, you know, like the Google CEO leaving California because he's unbelievably mad about the wealth tax, the one-off billionaire tax, the one-time billionaire tax. It's always just a couple people here and there. The idea that there will be an exodus of the super wealthy from these places is ridiculous. It is a lie. It has never happened, and it will not happen. Okay? Because these are expensive places to live in, and have already higher percentages of taxes for the super wealthy already, because they're nice places to live. That's where a lot of the highly educated workforce is already living and operating in. It's important to make sure that those people are more productive. It's important to make sure that those places are livable for the average Joe, for the working class person. Someone's got to fucking make your coffee, right? You can't expect that someone to come from 3 hours away. I can't stand the amount of greed demonstrated by these people. It's unbelievable. You just said that? Wow. Wait, what is this? Okay, I have a problem with this wealthy dude, Hassan, preaching the good gospel when this wealth is a part of the problem he criticizes. Cali is no socialist light environment. They gave us the billionaires Google, Meta, and Bezos. Wait, what? Yeah, regular people can't afford California. Why they moved to Texas? What? You just said that? Elitist as fuck? Wait, what did I wish we just had I just wish we had a worker version of you. Buddy, there are worker versions of me. They exist all around. You just fucking tune into me instead. Okay? You tune into me. Because this is my job. This is what I do. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Yes, because I have a people-funded broadcast, I have the freedom to be able to fucking chirp all day. There are tens of thousands of people who feel the same way that I do, who communicate the same way that I do, in this chat right now. The problem is they're stuck fucking delivering Amazon packages. So you are not going to hear from them. So my job, or at least what I try to do, is offer a voice to their grievances. And you sit here and you fucking complain, but walk the talk. You're a millionaire. What are you saying? What are you saying? Go work a fucking distribution facility so you don't hear what I have to fucking say? Is that your argument? Shut the fuck up! Fuck! Oh, it's just aesthetics at the end of the fucking day. That's it. That's literally it. It's aesthetics. This person is just like, I like what you have to say, but I can't get over the aesthetics, okay? I can't get over the aesthetics. In my mind, socialism means everyone has to be fucking poor. That is an unbelievably reactionary perspective, okay? That is a capitalist perspective. That is the perspective of these fucking millionaires and billionaires. Dumbass. Why are you limiting yourself? Jesus Christ. Socialism is a poverty cult. The only way to be a real socialist is if you wear a barrel around your fucking chest. It's so funny to be like, oh, it's so funny. All of this ends up being, hey man, I think you should advocate for what I perceive is your class position. Okay? That's all this is. Yeah, Private Chef, my billionaire dad. Hey, mate. Oh. All this is, hey, rich guy, why the fuck do you care? That's what this is. Is hey, rich guy, why don't you advocate for the fucking interests of the rich? Like I'm used to hearing. It fucks me up. Yeah, even my private chef is rich, dude. Fucking billionaire.
Damn, this guy's good.